Okay, guys, so welcome back to the second stream of the day. This should be a lot of fun because, of course, we're talking about Alessandro Michele's first collection for Valentino. This is officially his debut collection at Valentino. And I think the funny thing about Alessandro Michele is he's kind of making it a habit of designing collections with not much time. If you guys remember the time when he started at Gucci and he barely had any time to design his debut collection. Once again, we've seen another fast turnover collection by Alessandro Michele. So he's kind of making a habit of that. If you guys are not too aware, because I know some of you are, just getting into fashion, learning about stuff. I actually made a long form video on Alessandro Michele's era at Gucci. So you can find that video. It's called How Alessandro Michele Changed Gucci. So if you want to watch that after this stream, be my guest. You'll get a lot of context as to why, he's quite influential, why a lot of people talk about him, why his Gucci was so successful, all those kind of things. So yeah, it was kind of a surprise. This collection hit us out of the blue. All of us were kind of getting ready to, go to the Gucci show and talk about Gucci. And then out of nowhere, this Valentino collection comes out. Now, online, there was a lot of speculation as to why exactly did Valentino release a collection the same day as the Gucci show. And there are two different viewpoints on why this happened. The first viewpoint is because Alessandro Michele is petty and he wanted to release a collection on the same day as Gucci so that he could take attention away from, Gucci, which is quite hilarious. The other one is the fact that Kering owns Gucci and it's a minority stakeholder in Valentino. So maybe Kering had this thing where they wanted to, do a thing where they create buzz for both brands by comparing and contrasting them together. What do you guys think, though? Do you think that it was Alessandro Michele being petty, or do you think that Kering just wanted to create a buzz for both brands? So yeah, that's kind of like what people think. Okay, Pilar is saying the second option. So it's not Alessandro Michele being petty. Okay, that's fair enough. So yeah, it's very interesting. I'm not sure how many of you have seen the collection or, have any thoughts on the collection. What I wanted to show you guys quickly before we go into the collection is actually some Valentino campaigns from the 70s because Google is free. I always say Google is free. And the thing about Google is that on Twitter, I saw so many people saying, he's just doing his Gucci at Valentino and everything just looks like his Gucci and blah, 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 blah. This has no correlation to Valentino. And, yes, the aesthetic looks very similar to what Alessandro Michele does and kind of what we're used to seeing from him. That being said, Google is free. And in the Vogue interview, he said that he was heavily inspired by the 1960s and what Valentino Garavani was doing in the 1970s. And if you actually look at some of the ad campaigns over here of the 1970s Valentino, you can see this very like maximalist vibe that was going on at the time. Of course, that was not the only aesthetic, but it's just the aesthetic that, Alessandro Michele himself has selected. These are all Valentino campaigns from the 1970s. So that's why, before people go ranting and raving on Twitter, just do a little bit of research. Like literally, all this stuff is free. Google is literally, it's free. You don't have to pay for a subscription. You just go on Google, you search 1970s campaigns of Valentino, and you see a lot of maximalism. And that is kind of what Alessandro Michele wanted to focus on. And he mentioned it. To quote him directly from his interview with Vogue, what he said was, Valentino was never a minimalist, rather a maximalist. Even in the 70s, when he was at his most streamlined, there was always a very Roman sense of opulence and excess to his work, distilled through an obsession for beauty. So that is the direct quote from Alessandro Michele himself. Why the 160 looks though? It seems kind of obsessive. Yeah, so the funny thing is they actually said that there were 71 already, plus 93 images of shoes, bags, and accessories. So it was a lot. And it's very interesting because Alessandro Michele did actually say that he's going to make sure that this stuff just goes straight to stores. So I guess they just want to quickly get rid of the Pier Paolo Piccioli sort of era and kind of just blast forward into the Alessandro Michele era, which is why everything's just going straight into the stores. But it was so many damn looks. It was so much to take in at once. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly show you guys. And like you guys can do it yourself. Just very easy. Just type in, 1970s. This is Valentino in the 1970s, guys. Like Google is free. Google is free. It was very, very much maximalist, like Alessandro Michele was saying. And obviously in the Vogue interview, he talked about how he was delving very deeply in the archives and doing all that sort of stuff. I also think that, it's very easy also to kind of streamline your aesthetic into a brand. The first thing that comes to mind is, if you guys remember when Ludovic de Saint-Saëns did his debut collection at Andrea Mista, and people are like, this is not Andrea Mista, this has nothing to do with Andrea Mista, and all the looks were literally a direct reference to the Andrea Mista archive. It's just that because we know Ludovic to be this designer that does this really sexy thing, and he kind of sexified the whole Andrea Mista aesthetic, people started to associate it with something that has no relation. But it's just that he curated as many Andrea Mista looks as he could find that fit his design aesthetic and narrative, and then turn that into a whole collection. So I will also say that is also something that a designer can do. They can just distill like their aesthetic into a brand and just find the pieces in the archive that agree with their aesthetic and go with that. So it's very possible also. So to provide balance, that's also a thing that designers do. But yeah, something I found very interesting about, this resort collection from Alessandro Michele is this idea of the accessories. Of course, he's working very hard to bring like this big logo V. He's been creating a lot of footwear, the bags with the chains. All this stuff too is extremely Valentino. These like heavy pearls on the necklace. If you guys go and, like I said, Google is free. If you guys go and look at the ad campaigns of Valentino from the 70s, a lot of the looks had these very heavy layered pearls on the look. So that's an extremely Valentino touch. I wonder if they're going to try and bring that back as like a winning accessory for Valentino, just people buying the Valentino pearls. That's interesting to see if that sort of stuff sticks or if it doesn't. So it's very interesting. Also, they had these like leather gloves that I saw across the collection. Some were like longer than others. And when we think of Alessandro Michele's background is actually accessories design, right? He was an accessories designer under Tom Ford, under Frida Giannini, and it wasn't until he became the creative director of Gucci that we got to see Alessandro Michele's vision as a whole: clothing, accessories, everything all in one. And we also know him to be someone that has designed absolute hits for Gucci. Just think of things like, the Princetown loafers with the fur. That was a massive hit. The bags that he did, like the Dionysus with the different prints and stuff. So when it comes to accessories, I definitely think that a case can be made that Alessandro Michele is definitely a right fit for Valentino, because they've really lacked in money-making things like the accessories. The last time that Valentino had a really relevant accessories line was probably the studded sneakers and the rock stud bags, and that was about it. And that was not when was that even popular? That seems like it was popular like 4 or 5 years ago, if not longer. People were wearing rock stud sneakers when I was like in sixth form, when I was like 18 years old, and I'm 26 now. So that's like 8 years ago. That's a long time. Time flies really fast. So that's the thing. They've really been in dire need of something fresh when it comes to accessories. And I think that Alessandro Michele, of course, this is the first collection, and I'm definitely more interested in what he does on the runway in September. But it's kind of like a good introduction to kind of what he is looking to do with a lot of the accessories. Loafers with the fur, yeah. I had just picked up one of the big books of Valentino from my library the day before this hit. It's so interesting to see the connection he had drawn to the archive after just looking at that book. Yeah, I know, right? Because so many people online were saying this is so un-Valentino. And it's like Alessandro Michele, from my understanding, is from Rome. He's like Roman. And so that's literally where Valentino is based. So I can imagine Alessandro Michele, when he was growing up, he was looking at stuff like, the Valentino archives. That was kind of part of how he got into fashion. That would have been readily available to him when he was growing up. So yeah, people online are very interesting with their takes. They're very, very interesting. Those leather gloves are triggering season 2 of Emily in Paris. That's hilarious. I challenge him to make this look youthful, not just using young looking models. Yeah, that's a good point because I think that this bohemian aesthetic that we know Alessandro Michele for doing, kind of like a lot of brands are adopting it. We've seen Chloe with Chimena go like all the way back to the depths of bohemian aesthetic for Chloe. Kind of what people are calling like the boho chic, which I find a very problematic phrase to use, but we're just gonna roll with that for now, the boho chic thing. Um, and it seems across the board, a lot of brands have started to kind of adopt this more bohemian style. It's almost like anti-quiet luxury. It's like a counterculture to the fact that everyone is doing this quiet luxury thing. And I think with Alessandro Michele, it's nothing new, it's nothing out of the ordinary. We know him to be a very distinctly maximalist designer anyway. So this should come, as no surprise. What do you guys think about these shoes, with the straps forming like a V here? Do you guys think that these shoes are going to catch on? They look very like old lady. These are the kind of shoes that maybe not as bedazzled as that, but a more plain version. This is the kind of stuff that Theresa May wears. Literally what Theresa May used to wear. Kate says, I love that check cape. Pilar says, I don't think about these shoes. Okay, that's interesting. I think we're in a place in fashion where collections are more so like compilations of articles of clothing. Build your closet with whatever piece can best fit you. Interesting. Tell the truth, it is old. We have seen this over and over. Some give him praise for being creative. I beg to differ again. Old, and the same rehash. I mean, once again, he's infusing like the Valentino codes, like once again with the pearls, the maximalist jewelry, the lace. These are all, odes to Valentino Garavani, just through the lens of his point of view, which is this maximalist bohemian style. But it's not old. We've seen it before in the sense of like, if you say the aesthetic, but we haven't seen Alessandro Michele sort of filter an understanding of what Valentino is, especially with his focus from the 60s and 70s into a collection. So we've seen a similar aesthetic, but we haven't seen the exact same pieces, is my point. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's old. I guess the same critiques that people had for Alessandro Michele's Gucci, they would have for his Valentino. I remember his debut collection at Gucci. Critics were saying that it looks like the kind of stuff that you can go into a thrift store and buy, which I don't necessarily know if that's a good or a bad thing. On one hand, that means that there's actually quite a democracy to a lot of his clothes, and it's kind of like I'm presenting these clothes to you, and you can sort of find a way to dress in a similar way for less. And then another sense of it is maybe you could look at it like Alessandro Michele is so like not unique that you could literally find all the clothes in a thrift store. It just depends how you look at it, right? Glass half empty or half full. It depends on your perspective. Yeah, I think calling this old is so reductive. Um, because what do you mean by old? I guess it depends what you mean by old. It really depends what you mean by old because there's many designers that do the same thing. Like, does that mean that Rick Owens is old, or Yoji is old, or Phoebe Philo is old? Like, you know, where are we going with that conversation? Interesting accessories, like a hair clip that they've styled on a tie. And I can see a lot of people. You know, something that Alessandro Michele's Gucci reminds me of? I had friends who used to look at what Alessandro Michele would do on the runway, and they would like thrift the same looks. And they're like really stylish. And people are like, oh my God, you're so stylish. Like, how do you guys have this sense of style? And they're just like, we just copy what Alessandro Michele puts on the runway, and then we just buy clothes that are as similar as possible. We literally copy things look for look, but they look good though. So said, okay, that suit wears the point. I don't see them too well built. I just see a collection of accessories. Um, people will buy all the hair clips. On some, it looks very similar to the kind of thing that Simone Rocha would do. It honestly does. NYCBK is really not feeling it. If I look at my grandma's church pic at church and the aesthetic is the same, I don't want to see it. I saw this mess at Gucci. It's like I said earlier, right? You either, because Alessandro Michele is so over the top and maximalist with his aesthetic, it's either you really, really like it or you hate it. And that's fine. I understand that completely. But I don't know, the critique of it being old, I don't know, because so many designers do the same thing and they're like one trick ponies, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, in terms of they can't fit different aesthetics, like Eddie Slimane. But I actually like Eddie Slimane, like what he does, that aesthetic that he created. So people could say that, oh, Eddie Slimane is like really repetitive, but then for me, I just think I like what he does, so it's fine. Same thing with Yoji, same with Rick, same with a lot of designers. Like Rick Owens has damn near been doing the same shit for how many years and just changing it by 1% season to season. Pilar says, I don't know, it is depressing to see this after Pio. I guess I can understand that in the sense that it's so different, right? So because it's so different, it's very different to, it's kind of like a shock to the system. It's like, oh, this is actually what Valentino right now looks like. He said Simon is repetitive, Simon is not Yoji. Okay, let's have this conversation actually, because I think it's an interesting conversation to have. What what does Yoji do differently to Eddie Simon, which means that people give Yoji more credit for doing the same thing than they give Eddie Simon credit for doing the same thing? What's the difference? I have my answer, but I don't want to answer it. I want to know what other people think. But what makes, just from your perspective, I'm curious, what makes Yoji Yamamoto the best designer ever? What is it about his tailoring, his work, his construction, his techniques? What about it makes him the best designer ever? And does Eddie Simon lack that? I know the answer. I just want to know what you're gonna say. Craft, tailor. Okay, yeah. What I was gonna say is that Yoji Yamamoto is a more skilled designer by far. It's not even close compared to Eddie Simon. Eddie Simon is more like a stylist. Eddie Simon is more like, someone that, what's the word? Like, yeah, Eddie Simon is someone that has an aesthetic and he knows how to style things and put things together really well. Whereas Yoji Yamamoto is the kind of person that will literally be on the floor creating patterns and doing that stuff. But that's my answer. I just wanted to know what you guys think at first. I like posing questions for the fun of it. Um, so yeah, I'm not saying that it's normal to compare Yoji to Eddie Simon. Yoji is like 50 times the designer that Eddie Simon is. But it's just interesting. I like to know what people's perspective is when they say, oh, this person can do the same thing and it's fine, but this person can't do the same thing because it's not fine. So it's interesting. Like, I always have my own answer, but I just like to know what you guys think. Said whoa, not 50 times. It's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Like Eddie Simon couldn't lace Yoji's shoes, is my point. In terms of like design skill. Yoji, we can see the difference in progress, but Eddie, it is the same design and vibes from Salon Paris to Celine. Um, Yoji Yamamoto doesn't use high heels. So him, not using heels, does that matter though? Like the reason why Yoji doesn't use heels is because Yoji has this very specific understanding of what, like how he wants to view gender, and he almost doesn't like the idea of gender. He just wants to put clothes out that anyone can resonate with, and he's talked about this in interviews. I've even interviewed Yoji myself for a Vogue article that I did, and he kind of mentioned some stuff about that too, like in terms of like his aesthetic is not really about gendering people or stuff. He just designs interesting stuff that can fit most people. Um, but it doesn't, I don't think it makes you less of a designer or better if you use heels or not. So that's why I keep posing these questions, because I'm just curious to see where people's minds are at. Henry says, is it perhaps Yoji creates a universe we can live in? Does he? As opposed to, I guess, Eddie is more an aesthetic. I would say that Eddie Simon is I would say that Eddie Simon does create a world for you to live in. It's just a world of, rock and roll and of perfumes that smell like you're going you're either going clubbing or you're in Saint Tropez on a summer's day. I think he definitely has a world. I definitely think that Eddie Simon has a world. Yoji has a world. It's just different. But I definitely think that both of them create a world. Let's see what Finn says. This is a really good debate, by the way. It's like a lot of fun seeing what you guys think. Yoji makes incredible garments with references that can be so abstract or plain, whilst Eddie is a. Do you mean costumer? He dresses people in a period he likes. I can't live in the Eddie world. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, the Eddie Simone world is very much you have to be super skinny. Every time I jump on a stream, it sounds like MMA fans discussing who is the GOAT athlete ever. But you just swap an athlete with a designer here. Same discussions, but from so distant worlds. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their favorite designer. Like my favorite designer is Andrea Mista. But if someone asked me who do you think is the greatest designer of all time, I would probably say Alexander McQueen. But that's not factual. Like we say, fashion is subjective. Um, so many designers are, legends for different reasons. Like the reason why Vivienne Westwood is one of the greatest designers of all time is very different to Yoji, which is very different to Issey Miyake, which is very different to, Elsa Schiaparelli. They're all like famous for very different things. So that's why you can't objectively say this person, without a shadow of a doubt, is like the best designer we've ever seen and is the greatest of all time. But everyone has like the people that they like. So my job as, the streamer / journalist is just to pose these questions as to why people think these things, so we can like think deeper or talk about it on a deeper level. So yeah, there we go. Okay, Pilar says I prefer to live in the Yamamoto world. Well, likewise, I definitely do. On this channel, we rag other designers for not presenting anything new, creative, or fresh, repeating the same aesthetic, and now we're going to really act like this isn't the same. Really, that's definitely not what I do. Maybe other people, but me personally, I have a very specific way on how I judge collections. The only person, to be honest, that I make an issue out of him doing the same thing on this channel, and people can vouch when I say this, can vouch for me when I say this, is Demna. And the only reason why I consistently say, like, critique Demna for doing the same thing is because Demna said himself that he was going to go away from the gimmicks. He said himself that he was going to, focus on craft and clothes. That's what he said. So based on what he said, he's not following what he said. So that's why I'm always going to critique him for not doing that, right? But so many designers, in fact, most designers, quote unquote, do the same thing. But if you like the aesthetic, you like the aesthetic. I mean, geez, Peter Doe does the same thing. Phoebe Philo does the same thing. Like Xenia does the same thing. Rick Owens, for the most part, does the same thing. Yoji does the same thing. Rei Kawakubo is getting to the point where she's doing the same thing. Like, there's so many designers that do that. It just depends on kind of what that designer is going for. I don't necessarily have an issue with designers doing the same thing unless you specifically say, oh, I'm going to go to a very specific aesthetic, and then you don't do it, if that makes sense. Let's see what people are saying. It's okay to have a favorite designer, and I actually love the crowd here because we keep it polite. But I was just being cautious because the fashion world has a tendency to escalate and become toxic so quickly. Yeah, the fashion industry is toxic, and a lot of, you know, fashion conversations are extremely toxic. That being said, because I have an amazing audience of you guys, we can always like talk about fashion topics and agree or disagree in a very respectful way. Whereas, like, if you open Twitter or you go on some other communities, it becomes like World War Five. So it just depends what you're looking at. Alessandro Michele is really honing in on this idea that Valentino Garavani used to use pearls as necklaces. Um, it's damn near in like most of the women's looks. Yoji doesn't really do the same thing, in my opinion. If you look at his entire, the commercial black stuff is the same, but his runways can be divided into different eras. When I say the same thing, I don't mean the exact same thing because I'm comparing it to what Alessandro Michele does. Like, Alessandro Michele does not, like, this collection, for example, is through the lens of Valentino Garavani archives, right? So we've seen this aesthetic, but we haven't seen these same like pieces. Like, people are acting like you just swap letters and that you'll find one of these pieces at Gucci. Not necessarily. Some of them, yeah. So that's what I mean by like Yoji does the same thing. It might not be the exact same, shirt, but there's a design language that I see all the time. And why I can confidently say that about Yoji is like, one of my really good friends owns a store where he stocks Yoji, and sometimes I go to buying appointments with him. And I kid you not, like, there's a section of the showroom for Yoji every year for like the past 5 years has damn near looked the same, apart from maybe like different fabrics used and like different prints on the pieces. But there's literally like, I'd say about 70% of what you see in the Yoji showrooms for the past 5 years has quite literally been identical outside of like fabric choices and stuff. So yeah, just because I'm saying that Yoji, does very similar stuff season to season doesn't take away from, him being a legend, because he is. But that's just the reality of what it is. You go to the showrooms, it's the same shit. That's just the reality. Like, it's just what it is. And there's many designers that do it. Like I said, Rick Owens does the same thing. There's many designers that do that. And it's not to say Rick Owens, once again, just like I was saying with Yoji, it's not to say that Rick Owens does the exact same thing, but he just changes things slightly. So everything will be the same. And then he'll maybe like the Kiss Heels this season have a cargo pocket, or like, it's just very minute changes. Exactly what Chev says. This is his aesthetic. He will always do this hipster aesthetic within different themes. Exactly. Which is what every designer does. So going back to the person that said, we critique people for not doing something different. That's not me. Maybe other people, but I don't critique people for not doing something different. The only person I critique for doing that is Demna, literally. And everyone here knows that. And there's a reason why I critique Demna because of that. And I've explained that. So yeah, I don't have an issue with any designer doing what their aesthetic is. I think it's fine. Like, going back to Eddie Salmon, I don't have an issue with it. Alessandro Michele has an aesthetic and he's going to filter it through different ways. So yeah, every designer does that. Like, every designer is going to do that. Unless you don't have a design language, then you're just going to do random stuff. And then the critique will be, well, this person has no design language. Beji says he was unique enough to originally to certify it as his own. Are you talking about Yoji in terms of like his aesthetic? In fairness, consistency and minor tweaks from year to year can be valuable in the case of having a reliant customer base. I totally agree because think of it as a customer, right, and a consumer. If there's a piece of, I don't know, a jacket silhouette that you absolutely love and works perfectly for you, you would want to keep buying those jackets from the same designer. So if a designer does a completely different thing every season, how it's very hard to have that kind of repeat customer that comes for that aesthetic. And so that's the thing about Alessandro Michele too. If you think about the commerce of it, there are people that like Alessandro Michele's aesthetic and they go to him for a certain look. So if he's doing completely different things every season, you can kind of alienate an audience you just built, which is once again why it makes sense that most designers, whether we're talking about Yoji, Rick Owens, they have a very specific design language that people know they can expect. Because like me, for example, when I go to the showrooms for Yoji in Paris, there's a certain aesthetic of trouser that Yoji does that's really long and wide that always fits me. And I know they're going to have it there every single season. It's just going to be a different fabric or color, or there's going to be a different print on it. And I get it almost every season. Like I get some sort of pair of those every season. So that's the thing. Sometimes it works well in terms of like the commerce of it too. Another thing that I buy every season, since we're talking about Yoji, is every season Y3 does these like wide shorts that are made of interesting fabrics. Last season I bought these Y3 shorts that are made of 100% wool, and this season I think it's like a blend of wool and cotton, I think. But same thing, so I know every season I can get that shape, but it's just going to be a slightly different design, slightly different fabric, and I can count on it every season, right, to buy that. Rick Owens is maybe one of the best modern cases for this. He's been cutting pants the same way for almost a decade, changing minor details like weight and fabric. You might get some metal studs. Yeah. When are we talking about Prada in the next stream? In the next stream, in the next stream. But the Prada collection was really interesting. It really, really was. This is interesting how Alessandro Michele is kind of trying to use the studs, the rock studs, in this sort of like bohemian looking fringe, almost like Western vibe bag. Very, very interesting how he's incorporating the studs in a very different way to what we're used to seeing from Valentino. And also, what's this obsession in fashion recently with all this like Western style of fashion? I feel like everyone has just caught that bug recently. I think the issue about repetitiveness is related more to the absurd fashion system full of collections, not on designers having an aesthetic. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Victor says, why is there a resurgence of like stagflation, bohemian 70s era, cab driver like Canal Street, Peckham kind of market like influence? it's it's true. It's true. It's true. For certain designers though, but it's true. I feel like the demand for constant change is robbing us of fashion eras. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree, which is why, like I said, I don't have an issue with designers doing the same thing. It just depends on if it makes sense for them to do the same thing, right? And so long as they're not contradicting themselves. Like once again, the reason why Demna is an easy target is because Demna is the one that says all sorts of stuff in interviews and doesn't follow through. So it's like, Demna, I thought you said you're not going to do gimmicks. Why are we seeing bin bags on the runway? Why are we looking at shoe boxes as clutches? Like, why? You're supposed to be Mr. We're going to pare things back and go back to the craft. To be honest, if he didn't say that and he didn't have that massive scandal and he didn't contradict himself so much, I probably wouldn't have as much of an issue with him, doing his aesthetic. I would be like, well, that's what he's doing. That's his aesthetic. If anything, I'm a huge fan of different designers having their own aesthetic that they stick to. And the main reason why I'm a big fan of that is because I don't want a fashion industry where every single brand looks the same. That was my critique for Sabato with his first Gucci collection, right? We don't want a system where Xenia looks like Lemaire, which looks like Ami, which looks like Phoebe Philo, which looks like Helmut Lang. We don't want that kind of fashion system. We want things to be unique, brands to be unique, kind of how it was before. When you looked at the couturiers, you looked at Valentino's work, you looked at Dior's work, you looked at the work of Chris Balenciaga, you looked at the work of Elsa Schiaparelli, Coco Chanel, Charles James. You could see a stark difference in their aesthetics. And clearly they had very different customers that went to them for different things. Yves Saint Laurent, right? So I don't want a fashion system where everyone is kind of like chasing trends and no one has their own distinctive aesthetic. So I personally don't penalize Alessandro Michele for having this aesthetic and this thing that he does, this bohemian sort of thrift store chic that he goes with. I personally don't have an issue with it. Yeah, exactly. Henry says, as soon as you go back on your word, people doubt you. Exactly. There's no way the real world should open a counterfeit handbag store on Canal Street, but why they want to put the Africans on Canal out of business? Oh, it says, I'm getting a little sick of open-toed shoes. I feel like that's all we've seen over the last few seasons. Is it? Really? I feel like, okay, here there's open-toed shoes, but I feel like a lot of brands have been doing closed-toe. I think it just depends where you look. The clean/simple looks are the best ones. The overly ornate things get dated fast. His first Gucci collection was the perfect mix of vintage styles, but properly modernized. He should do that more. Yeah, his debut collection at Gucci was not ultra maximalist, right? It was very much, the Princetown loafers with the fur. They had, those red pussy bow blouses, wide, tan trousers. It was actually quite mellow for Alessandro Michele collection. And I think as time went, he got more and more extreme with the maximalist aesthetic. Marzi, I'll wear these instead of Sabato's man dress and short shorts. Oh my god. I love how what really fascinates me, and this is why I love doing streams because I can get your comments in real time, is how everyone has an aesthetic they like. And I can clearly see like some people really like Sabaton and some people really don't. And then some people really like, someone like Yoji. And so therefore anything ultra maximalist like doesn't resonate with them. It's just interesting. Like different things for different people. But that's why all these different brands should exist for all the different kinds of customers that we see in fashion. Shoes are like $900. They better cover my toes to my thighs. Also, can't wait until we talk about the recent LV show. I'm trying to decide whether I want to talk about it or not because I just wasn't the biggest fan of the Louis Vuitton show. To be fair, I'm not the biggest fan of most of what Pharrell has done at LV. Um, I'm just not. Do I really want to talk about it? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But just know I wasn't the biggest fan. That man was designing Diodora football boots. Do you know something I don't? Let me just talk about this quickly and then we'll continue on the Valentino show. Um, do you know what I really, really grinds my gears with luxury brands when they design like football boots or astroturfs? Kind of Demna did the same thing and it grinded my gears. They always just copy the like Lonsdale Diodora sort of like boot, and then they just slap like a Balenciaga logo in Demna's case, or in the case of LV, just slap an LV logo on the most basic 1970s football boot design. They're not even trying to design something that looks unique, like how, let's say, Nike every year will make like a football boot that looks entirely different to the kind of stuff that they were designing before. Or even, the Adidas Predators, they look slightly different every generation, right? But with the luxury brands, they design the worst football boots I've ever seen in my life. And I find that weird because no one is going to wear Louis Vuitton football boots for performance because they're probably not going to be great performance wise. So if we're wearing it for aesthetic reasons, at least make it interesting aesthetically. Don't design these crappy ass like Sports Direct, Lonsdale, £10 designed like AstroTurfs. It just shows a lack of like any sort of inspiration, or you're not even trying to design. You're not even trying at that point. You're just putting out products for the sake of putting out products. So that's what I think about some of the stuff that Pharrell did. So that's why, like I told you, you can already tell it's grinding my gears. That LV show is left to be seen if I'm going to talk about it. Because I don't like being ultra negative, right? But sometimes it's warranted. And I think with that LV show, it's definitely warranted. Arteta wears them Prada / Adidas Jordans. Oh my god. Anyway, moving on. Let's continue looking at the Valentino looks. It's funny because this is actually my first time going through every single look because there's just so many damn looks. So I told myself I would wait until we stream so I can kind of look at the looks in real time and kind of see what I think. But it's the thing about it though, I just think it's way too many looks. That's something I will say about this collection. It's way too many looks. It's hard for me to really take it in because it's too much at once. It's just too much product. We can't talk about LV without Mr. Micah LV himself. Unleash your inner hater. Someone says, just got in the live. What are your thoughts about the bags? I think the bags are interesting. I don't know if that massive V is going to catch on. I don't know. I don't know if like fashion right now, the climate of fashion is very much in this realm of like a massive V to show you that I'm wearing the Valentino bag. I don't know if that's tasteful to the average consumer right now in this whole quiet luxury era that everyone's in. So it's left to be seen. But because I know Alessandro Michele is so good at selling accessories, I won't say never. Never say never. You says, I like the styling of the men's looks better. Interesting. Yeah, why so many looks? There's way too many looks. It's too much. It's definitely too much. But yeah, the bags, I don't know. This is something. NYCBK obviously doesn't like this collection, says the bags are a bore. And while I won't go as far as saying they're a bore, there's nothing per se interesting. There's nothing like, and I know Alessandro Michele can design so something like that. So maybe he's just warming into it because we've seen all the different innovative bag designs that he had at Gucci. So we know he can do it. It's just a matter of time, I guess. But the bags that he presented in this collection, I don't know. They're not his greatest works, bag-wise. Like bags like this, like with the chain, that's not that interesting at all. Like at all. So that's what I think about the bags. I think they're not the most interesting. It'll be interesting to see if people, buy into it, maybe because it's Alessandro and they like him. But I think with time, knowing him, he's definitely going to do some interesting stuff with the bags. When it comes to sneakers, most big fashion brands just do abysmal, horrible, boring design. I don't get it. Gucci, Rhython, and Triple S when they came out. I think these two weren't a rip-off only. I mean, the Triple S was definitely very innovative in design, but once again, Balenciaga actually is one of the brands that I always give credit for having really good footwear, and they're always on the cusp of innovating on footwear, and it's very innovative. I think a lot needs to be said for the people that have been the head footwear designers at Balenciaga, because they're doing insane work, being able to present unique footwear time and time again. However, that being said, they did design those horrible astroturfs that I'm talking about, where it just looks like you don't want to do any design work at all. Like they look the exact same as Lonsdale's that you find in Sports Direct, just that the price is different. That does not take design. You could, to design that kind of shoe, you could literally just like, and with the means of Balenciaga, you could buy the mold of the Lonsdale from somewhere and just copy the mold, like perfectly copy it, because it looks exactly the same. And you could buy like one of the pieces from Sports Direct and cut it up and then, follow the pattern and study the pattern. That's literally what it looked like they did. And for a brand like Balenciaga with their resources, it's not good enough. Io, do you think something about this line is a carryover from before? Or is it all presenting some kind of new direction? Maybe this question is too simplistic. I mean, I have heard people say that this is a carryover of maybe some ideas that he had left at Gucci. And I just don't agree, because this aesthetic is so, once again, over the past few days, I've actually had a chance to like look at a lot of the Valentino stuff from the 70s, and he's channeling that through this collection. There's no correlation. The styling with all the pearls and stuff, that's ultra Valentino. So I don't think there's necessary carryover. I just think that because Alessandro Michele's aesthetic is so distinctive, we end up thinking it's the same because it looks similar. But you look at the pieces on an individual level and you see that they're actually not that similar. Alessandro is a storyteller, so the clothes and accessories have to be aligned. The clothes won't sell, but the accessories and bags will fly off the shelves. Bring back the arenas. The Valencia arenas. That was the ultimate like rapper shoe. Point is, how 80 to 90% of sneakers with a price tag of above 450 plus euros are so bad. Yeah, most luxury brands, the sneakers they make, it's scary how terrible they are. Like, I'm like, which footwear designer? Like, I think, do you know what it is about luxury brands too? Because obviously, for guys that don't know, I have done, like, I work with Nike sometimes. And working with Nike, you get this really strong sense that they're very interested to know what people actually find cool, especially young people. Like, they genuinely want to know, what is this cool to like someone who is a cool 21-year-old? Is this cool to like an 18-year-old teenager? Like, is this cool? What would they say about it? What's your opinion? And they have all these like study groups and focus groups where they don't tell them what to think. They just show them a design, and then sometimes they might like it and sometimes they'll be like, this is trash. I think sometimes these luxury brands are so disconnected from reality or just like consumers that some of the shoes, I'm just like, in what world is anyone going to buy that? Like, some of like, do you remember when Riccardo Tisci was at Burberry and they had those horrid ready to wear pieces, from the jackets to the t-shirts to the footwear? It's just like, this looks so bad. I can't imagine anyone buying this stuff, and I'm very sure no one bought it, which is why he didn't last long there. Like, how can you not see that? That stuff was awful. Like, objectively, it was just terrible. I said footballers love the ugly luxury sneakers, though. They just care about the logo. And Riccardo Tisci Burberry was literally the thing of nightmares. We don't talk about that era of Burberry. That's funny. That's actually quite funny. Riccardo Tisci at Burberry was a fever dream. I don't want to remember it. It took Nike years to actually allow creatives to do just that, be creative. It wasn't until Adidas's insane run in the early 2010s that they started taking the concept more seriously. Yeah, you're right. But of course, I'm talking about like what they're doing now, because obviously back then I wasn't working with Nike, so I have no idea what the strategy was like back then. I can only speak about like now. But now they're very much like even Nike, they will sponsor some like community sporting event. Um, some random community sporting event that's done by just some really interesting, influential people in like a very small community in London because they're trying to, align themselves with cool creatives and up and coming people that are doing really interesting things. So that's why they're always tapped in like what's going on. So many looks. I'm like having brain overload with how many looks are in this collection. But once again, like someone was asking me about the bags earlier. See what I mean? Just not that interesting. There's nothing particularly interesting about this bag, like at all, not even slightly. Like how I always think about these things when I think about it is like, what would make a woman buy this bag? What is different about this bag that you can't find at any other brand other than the fact that there's a Valentino logo? Like, what is the other point of difference? And with that bag, I'd say there is none. Disruption can be sleek and classic. Yozi or Uma, I'm sure you mean like Uma Wang, unless you mean someone else. It's more about textures and unique angles to tackle the Prada motifs, just like reinvent something, anything. I hope designers stop trying to appeal to young kids and at least on something. Who gives a shit if Bushwick kids only want sex top diesel micro skirts? They're not the ones with money to buy this stuff. Yeah, I think it just depends on who your consumer base is. Obviously, I use Nike as an example because most of like, okay, everyone buys Nikes, like of all ages, but when you talk about like the athlete side of things, obviously it has to cater to young people because young people are the ones that are, playing sports on a very, very high level. Like people between the ages of like 16 to like 30. Those are like most of the pro athletes fit that range. And then everything has to filter down from the pro athlete. So the reason why you have a running shoe like the Nike Next 1% or stuff like that is because they did a challenge with Kipchoge and then they used some of the technology and filtered it down to like consumer shoes. So that's why it's important for them to do focus groups like that. For luxury brands, they just need to know what their consumer base is. Like they have all this data, by the way. They can see, okay, who is buying it? What do people of this age that is my typical customer, what do they think is cool? What do they like? What are they interested in? But sometimes it seems like there's just a disconnect across the board because, for example, going back to Burberry, and Burberry is a good scapegoat to kind of prove my point. When Riccardo Tisci was at Burberry, his clothes were so undesirable, I couldn't see any age group for it. There was just no market for it. Whether we're talking about teenagers or 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds, there's no one for that Riccardo Tisci Burberry. There's just no one there. Like it was just that bad. It was just that disconnected from any sort of market or any sort of consumer base. So that's what I mean. It doesn't necessarily have to be young. In terms of like young people are not the only people that determine what's cool, right? Um, but that being said, you have to just have an understanding of what people actually think about what you're designing because it also affects your bottom line. If people think what you're designing is undesirable, people don't buy it, you're the one who's going to lose your job or you're the one who, won't make a lot of money. I do like that Alessandro Michele is like pushing these sort of like these gloves. They're really cool. And this like rock stud bum bag. I think this was one of the more interesting pieces in this collection. Yes, it's just a bum bag, but I can see how, the girlies that love a little rock stud, a little bum bag is cute. I can see why people would buy this. I can see how that could fly off the shelves. I think that was one of the like stronger bags in this collection. Nothing worse than that purple plaid. Korean people actually bought Tishi Burberry from what I remember. Maybe they did, but clearly it wasn't enough Koreans weren't buying it for them to warrant Ricardo Tishi staying in that role. So clearly it wasn't enough. But young people are the machine for cooking up awareness. Every company needs a pool of people at the end of the day. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And also, you can make that argument that, sometimes, in a simplistic way, not the kind of people that watch this live stream because you guys are actually into fashion, but in a very simplistic way. Like if you talk to, I don't know, your auntie that isn't that much into fashion, they'll say things like, "Oh, I like wearing this because it makes me look young." Like sometimes there are people that genuinely wear clothes that they think makes them look younger. And so to those people, they are more drawn to ad campaigns that have younger models in it and all those sort of things. Whereas like I feel like the typical fashion person would actually just prefer seeing themselves represented. So I think it just depends. Kind of like what this person is saying, fashion is obsessed with youth. So there's a section of fashion too that's just obsessed with being young. So that's why also there's an obsession of like kind of what do the youth think about this and all that sort of stuff. Valentino kind of started the Barbie core trend. This is kind of the antithesis. Do you know what I really want to see though? What I'm really looking forward to is Alessandro Michele couture. I really want to see what that would look like. I really, really want to know what that would look like. Two lives in one day. We don't deserve you. I was saying earlier that when I stream, I'm going to start streaming twice in the day so that I can do one stream that's more, friendly to European viewers and all that sort of stuff. Then I'll do a later stream in the evening that's more for the Americans. And that way it's also easier to watch these things back. So I think, yeah. Yeah, I agree either. Those are the people who still think Alessandro is still at Gucci. After all, they still wear the Gucci sneakers with the lips on the side. Yeah, it's going to be easier for you to watch it back because it's even less than an hour and a half, which is very rare for my live streams. They normally drag on for years. So, yeah, I think you'll actually enjoy. I even have timestamps. Oh my God, my live streams are getting really fancy these days. Timestamps, you can find what section you like. I'm making them shorter. I'm thinking of the playback, value. Gucci sneakers with the snake. You guys are funny. Let me just skip through these because I kind of understand what the aesthetic is. I get what he's going for. I just want to kind of catch and see if there are some interesting accessories or like pieces that I find. We've got some more gloves, these kind of like net gloves. But Alessandro Michele trying to bring the gloves back. Do you guys think that Alessandro Michele will successfully make like Valentino pearls like a thing? Of course, like I've told you guys before, if you look at the Valentino archives, he liked to put a lot of pearls on a lot of the looks anyway. It's kind of like a signature of the house. But people don't think about that. Like I think when people buy Valentino, no one talks about like, oh, I'm gonna buy the Valentino pearl necklace or all that sort of stuff. And I think Alessandro can make more interesting accessories than just a pearl necklace. Maybe like one time he has a bag and the strap is made of like a chain that is made to look like, fake pearls or you know what? Let me stop giving these brands ideas because they're not going to give me royalties. Let me stop. 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 For they steal my ideas and I see that on the runway. A human you says, no, this style of pearl I think looks very dated and strange on everyone, regardless of age. Yeah, I don't. I mean, like I told you, there's interesting things that Alessandro Michele can do with the pearls. I've given him one idea, and that's it. Take you can take the idea, Alessandro Michele. I give it to you for free. However, if you want more ideas, you have my email. You know what my Instagram is. You can hit me up, and I can tell you for a fee, for a very high fee, I can tell you some very interesting ideas to make the Valentino accessories like go crazy. Chef says, I wear pearls. Is that bad? It's certainly not bad. Everyone has their style, and what you like is what you like. I don't think there's anything bad with that. I think you, woman, you is more talking about in the way it's styled here. It looks kind of like it makes it look really old school. It literally makes you feel like you jumped into the 70s. I want him to slide in the DMs. Yeah, exactly. Chanel wore pearls and they look amazing on her. Facts. Simone Rocha wears pearls and they look amazing on her. There's many people that wear pearls and it looks great. So yeah, I don't think you should feel any kind of way for wearing pearls. I really want to know if these shoes are going to catch on. I don't even know what these are. Like I don't understand them. These look like they were made with a smidgen of fabric, and they're probably going to cost like 900 euros or something insane, $1,000. I don't understand those shoes though. I'm trying to understand them. Alessandro Michele loves a bow, doesn't he? One way or another, there's going to be a bow, whether it's through a blouse or the detailing in the clothing. See, pussy bow. Like it's so Alessandro to do that. The Valentino. Wait, did he say the Valentino Mercurials? That is so funny. Valentino Mercurials is crazy. That is insane. That is actually insane. I don't know. It's giving perks of being a wallflower, like painfully millennial, wine in a red solo cup at a house party full of people trying to be quirky. Interesting take. Interesting take. When he says you could blow through those shits in 10 strides. I know, right? Like, let me find those shoes. Why are they so thin? They look so flimsy. Maybe I need to see them up close, but they just look so flimsy. Like, seriously. I don't know about those, but yeah. And it looks so out of place with the look as a whole. Like, the styling of the look is completely off key. And normally, for the most part, I love Alessandro's styling, especially in this collection. I like the styling because it's a certain look, but this look here just looks so out of whack, like completely out of whack. Okay, that's all the looks. That's geez, so much to take in. I feel like for the next couple of months until the next Valentino collection, I'm still going to be taking this collection in little by little. Um, But yeah, I want to have a look at some of the detail shots too, just so we can see. 93 images of details. My word. Them is bowling shoes. I agree with Rachel, by the way. Rachel says there's nothing wrong with pearls or almost anything. It's all about context. I totally agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with anything. It just depends. Case by case basis type of vibe. I told you about Alessandro and the bows. One way or another, he's going to find a way for every single thing in the collection to have some sort of a bow. This is the V that we're talking about. This really big tote with the chain. I don't know if like it's just a bit much, even for Michele. I don't know if that's going to catch on. To be fair, see, we have another bow. He's connected the bows with the pearl. That's really interesting and that's cool. That's actually really cool, I must say. So he is doing some quite interesting stuff with the pearls. Rock studs with, we talked about this, like the bags with the fringes. Pearls are truly meant to be experimented with in various ways until a new style emerges. I agree. This is the kind of collection you go back and say, you was onto something, you just hid the nice stuff. Yeah, that's like it's funny you commented that, right? So I remember when I first got into fashion, and I always tell this story, but I'll tell it again. There's new people in the stream, probably, maybe not, who knows. But I got into fashion by learning about Yohji Yamamoto first. So he was the first designer that, I ever learned about, and he introduced me to like the world of fashion. Not him personally, obviously, who am I? But like learning about him introduced me to the world of fashion. And so I started to understand fashion through the lens of Yohji Yamamoto. And so by the time I started learning about other Japanese designers, the Kansai Yamamotos, the Kenzo Takadas, the people like Issey Miyake, the Rei Kawakubos, I could understand everyone's aesthetic apart from Rei Kawakubo, because I would look at a Comme des Garçons runway show and it just looked like an absolute hot mess. And then I dated someone who was like a Comme des Garçons like fan. Like she was obsessed with Comme des Garçons. And everything she used to wear was Comme, and it always looked so good. So I started asking her, like, what season is this from? I don't remember seeing this on a runway. And then she'll show me the season. And when you look at the piece on the runway, it just looks like, you know what? Let me see if I can put it on the screen, and we'll come back to this Valentino show, because I actually need to illustrate what I'm talking about. Like, it looks like a hot mess, and then you actually realize it's just a bunch of skirts sewn together. And so what she's wearing is kind of one of the skirts separated, and that's just how Rei Kawakubo presents her work. I'm trying to think, what season was it? I know it was from a while ago. I really, really can't remember what season it was. What season? What season? What season? Let's go for Fall Winter 2019. If it's not that, we'll just keep looking. Okay, no, I don't think it was this collection at all. It definitely wasn't that collection, but I'm going to find it. We're going to find it live on the stream, guys. I know it was around this time though. Let's try Spring Summer 18. Let's see. Yes, I think this is a collection. I think this might be it. So like, okay, I'll give you guys an example. So like this kind of look here, you see how it just looks like a hot mess. Sometimes when Ray presents work like this, they're actually just separate pieces sewn into each other because she wants to present it that way. But they're actually separate pieces. So when you see it in the store, this thing on the right-hand side is like a separate skirt, and like this, like there's different pieces, they're actually separate pieces, but when you see it on the runway, it's confusing because it just looks like a hot mess. But because she's so avant-garde, that's how she presents her work. So kind of to go back to that comment, it's kind of like sometimes there's designers that do stuff like that, and then you come back to the collection later like, oh, you were actually onto something. What you do is actually really interesting, but maybe the way that they present it can be quite confusing. So yeah, it was literally my ex-girlfriend that put me on to Comme des Garçons like properly, and that was when I was still really kind of like getting into it. We will accompany you on your journey. That's funny. So yeah, just to point that out anyway. Just call her and put her on speaker. I could do that, but that would be really weird. I haven't spoken to her on the phone in like years. It'll be really weird for me to call her. She'll be like, "Why are you calling me?" Like, like, why is this guy calling me out of the blue? What do you want? You know, you know, a lot of times when men call women like randomly after a few years, it's because they want something. So she would probably be like, "What do you want?" That would be funny. If this sells out, do you think Gucci will buy Alessandro back? And would he agree? What do you think? No, I don't think Alessandro Michele would ever go back to Gucci with how it ended. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Said, I kind of like that though, because it throws off the fashion predators. Let's see. Going through some more of the details. These sneaker kind of designs, I'm just not the biggest fan of. Like this stuff that's made with a touch of fabric. Why is the sole so like it's kind of like walking barefoot with the sole that thin? And also it kind of doesn't look that well made because the Valentino logo, the way it goes in here, and it's at an angle, it just doesn't look that well constructed at all, actually. Now that I'm actually looking at it up close, I don't see any stitches, so it's probably, it depends what they use, but I'm gonna guess that it's glued together. That's a disaster. That's an absolute disaster. This is why people shouldn't give me too much time with a collection, because if I start going looking at construction, some of these luxury brands are going to have like a huge issue. I'm going to start getting blacklisted. Valentino predators. NYCBK says get close on the dreadful clothes. I don't think they're dreadful at all. I don't think the clothing is dreadful. We've got sequins kind of forming part of this like check pattern. That's quite intricate though. I kind of like that with this heavily sequined sleeve detailing. That's pretty cool. I actually like the clothes. So NYC, I know you don't like it, but I don't necessarily agree. There's pieces I don't like, but I just think this is just Alessandro's aesthetic filtered through a Valentino lens. It is what it is. Of course, everyone is well within their rights to like or dislike any collection. Because fashion is subjective. There's no like fact to it. So yeah, just depends what you like. Cameo says, I miss him at Gucci. This just doesn't feel like Valentino. I know, but it's still Valentino though. It's just 70s Valentino rather than Pier Paolo Piccioli's Valentino. You know what I mean? These kind of shoes with the flattened toe boxes make me furious. So terrible. Luke Luke hopped in straight away. This collection is some grandma. Luke flew in, all guns blazing. Like all guns blazing. Someone's asking me, is he doing couture? I'd like to believe that he's doing couture. I need to check the schedule to see if Valentino is on the schedule for the next couture, which is actually not too long to go now. Someone says I like it, but rather because I'm a fan of Michele, couldn't care less about Valentino. That's interesting. Interesting. Okay, let's start speeding past because we've kind of seen these pieces. I just wanted to see them up close to see if there's something else that I get from the looks. These sneakers, once again, this is exactly what I mean about designers not even trying to design. So this silhouette of sneaker, there's so many brands that do this already, and all they've done is just put this V at the front here and just like have maybe a different pattern. This kind of footwear design, when luxury brands just like do stuff like that, where it's like you're not even trying to innovate, and that's why once again I always give Balenciaga props because they actually try to design new silhouettes and stuff. They don't do this like stuff where they just copy stuff that everyone else does and then just put a V on it. Like this kind of stuff is the stuff that I always wonder how it like catches on with people. So flat I could film my feet screaming already. I think it's very appropriate for Valentino's age demographic, to be fair. Very Great Gatsby. Hmm. What would we say that Valentino's customer base is? Like what age? Because I don't even know the answer to that question because when I think of Valentino from 8 years ago, when I was saying that people were obsessed with, the rock stud sneakers, the rock stud bags, or the editors were wearing it at the time, you had the influencers wearing it, the fashion girlies. I don't know because nowadays I don't really see people wear Valentino. Like Pio Paolo, I loved his couture. His ready to wear, I wasn't the biggest fan. I think that he does couture way better than he does ready to wear. Um, but I just don't see that many people wearing Valentino like these days. Rich white woman, Joan Rivers. Interesting. Everyone's saying 35 to 45. I'm seeing 40 to 65, 40s. NYCBK said 70. Leo Johnson says 55 plus. Interesting. Joan Rivers is crazy though. 50 plus. Maybe menopausal woman who just stopped giving a fuck about being normal. Interesting. Yeah, you guys are crazy. Like the Joan Rivers thing is actually insane. I walked into a Gucci store while the sales staff were having the opening meeting with the manager hyping up the Sabato show. The manager asked if they were excited. The staff were dead silent. Damn. That's really bad. If the people that are meant to sell your clothes aren't excited, you have a massive problem. Because those are the people that are going to sell it to consumers in the stores. Let's see what everyone else is saying. Even at his height of his Gucci pomp, nobody was wearing that Alessandro aesthetic bought from Gucci. They went into the store to buy hoodies. Yeah, kind of like when Alessandro's Gucci, but I would say that Alessandro did his job well because what was selling were things like the Princetown sneakers that he did, um, the Dionysus bags, that he was making all these different iterations of. So all the stuff that was actually flying off the shelves was actually him. It's not like, let's say, Virginie Viard or just any designer at Chanel, really, where most people go to Chanel to buy Chanel pumps, tweed jackets, especially couture tweed for the rich people, and then they go to Chanel to buy flat bags. That means whatever designer is there, it doesn't matter. Chanel consumers are always going to buy that. It was very different with Alessandro Michele, where consumers were actually going to buy his designs. People were buying the flame sneakers. That was his era. People are buying, the Dionysus bags, like I said, the loafer slippers, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think he's good when it comes to like product that actually sells and then fitting that into an aesthetic of like building a world where he knows, okay, I'm building this aesthetic in this world and no one's going to buy the ready to wear, but I can put the accessories in a context where I can still sell like a dream and an aesthetic and tell a story through the clothes. Let's see. That's another thing setting Demna apart because the people actually buy the clothes. Yeah, I mean, Demna makes a lot of stuff that is desirable for people to wear. I'll definitely give him that. Like things like the Pierce cap, different puffer jackets that he does, all that sort of stuff. I get it. The footwear is like I've told every single stream. It seems like I'm always giving the footwear designer at Balenciaga praise because I genuinely think that Balenciaga makes the best footwear hands down out of all the luxury brands. Some of it is ridiculous, but if we're just talking across the board, they have the best innovation when it comes to footwear across any other luxury brand. Nine Spins Beat says, I don't think Valentino's customer base is that old. It will definitely appeal to a younger demographic. Yeah, like I said, I don't really know what Valentino's customer base is, which is why I was asking everyone else. But I think once again, we've seen Alessandro Michele design stuff that's desirable for people of all ages, right? Um, but I just think maybe he was, because the time frame was a bit short and all these kind of things, maybe he was just like keeping it a bit mellow for the start, because once again, just having a random belt with the V on it, like, and Alessandro designs accessories better than that. Like, I've been covering Alessandro's work for years and years and years. I know he designs accessories better than that. Here we've got a big pearl necklace, exaggerated pearls. Valentino was my first stop in my 30s, for sure not now. Hmm. Hmm. Good question. Who's second to Balenciaga in footwear? Let me have a think about that actually, because Balenciaga is so ahead of the curve. It's very hard to find anyone that's even close when it comes to footwear. Um, let me think. Let me think. After Balenciaga, there's brands that try. Like Prada makes some like interesting loafers every season. Um, I'm trying to think of another brand that does like interesting footwear. But Prada does some cool stuff season to season. Um, Rick, oh yeah, it is Rick. It is Rick actually. That's a good point. I totally forgot about Rick. Yeah, Rick does some interesting stuff too. But I don't think that Rick is as innovative when it comes to footwear as Balenciaga right now. I don't think so. I'm not sure I can say that, because the stuff that sells the best for Rick is like things like Ramones and like Geos and stuff. And we know that a lot of those designs are inspired by like Air Force Ones and Converses and stuff. So it's not that innovative. Obviously, if we're talking about like Kiss Heels, that side of things, yes. But I still think that Balenciaga does more innovative things season on season than Rick. And Rick, once he has something that works, so let's say the Kiss Heels, for example, he'll just make different iterations of the Kiss Heels for seasons and seasons. Whereas Balenciaga completely overhaul the innovation in like 2 seasons. Like, it's actually insane. They go from, Balenciaga will go from a triple S to a steroid boot. Like, Rick Owens is not that innovative when it comes to footwear, not that level. But I'd say most innovative brands for footwear, some people are saying Y3, that's facts. That's complete facts. Y3 are really innovative when it comes to the footwear. We can say Y3, Rick Owens, Balenciaga. Those are definitely the ones that stand out. When it comes to people actually trying to push the mold. And Y3 actually come out with like new silhouettes from the ground up. So yeah, that's facts. That's facts. That's facts. I'm not giving out passes. Why? Why is it if you don't agree with my opinion, I'm now giving out passes? It's not a pass. I'm just saying that Alessandro Michele has an aesthetic and he's filtered that through Valentino from the 70s. That's not giving him a pass. It just is what it is. That's his aesthetic. And he's filtering it for Valentino. I'm not giving him a pass. Like, I've literally been saying through the collection, I've been critiquing the footwear, saying that it looks like the quality is bad, saying that designers, they're designing these footwear where there's no innovation. Like, that's why we had this talk about footwear innovation. Like, I'm a very balanced person, even with designers I like. So I'm definitely not giving him any passes whatsoever. Chef says, I own 0 Balenciaga shoes, but I have 2 Rick boots. To be fair, I don't own any Balenciaga, but the only reason why I have Rick shoes and I don't have Balenciaga footwear is because I can get Rick Owens footwear for like wholesale price, whereas I don't have a connection like that with Balenciaga, so I can't do that. So it's just more of a money thing. And since I'm not rich, I can't just walk into a store and just buy what I like. Y3 is a cheat code. They probably only need a few celebs wearing Valentino fits at Coachella to spearhead his aesthetic as a trend. Um, yeah, I mean, the influence of influencers really scares me. The fact that someone can just wear something online and everyone buys it is like insane. Like Molly May wears like a jacket, and every single like 16-year-old girl in the UK wants to buy that exact piece and it sells out. That stuff scares me. I'm like, wow, people really don't have their own style. This is another example of like boring design that I'm saying. This is literally the shape of the loafers that, the Gucci horse bit loafers. Obviously, but instead of a horse bit, you just have a Valentino logo. That's funny. That's very FU to Gucci, doing the exact same shape. That's funny. These are interesting, like this design, but with the bow. That's cool. I could see how this could really go, especially with this whole ballet core thing going on TikTok. That could definitely move. I'm not too familiar with Y Project Footwear, actually. I'll have to look into that. I'm going to have a look at their website now just to have a look. Y Project Footwear. Hmm. After we're done looking at this, we can have a look at some of the Y Project Footwear and just look at different websites and have the discussion over, who does the most innovative footwear. Because I think that's actually a fun conversation to have. If Devon is still creative director, I may never get that discount, I'm afraid. Rick boots are better quality, though. I think the problem with a lot of Balenciaga designs, like the steroid boot or the space shoes, is that they are not thought through and scratch and break easily. That's a valid point. Although I will say that some Rick shoes too are made quite badly. Like I have friends that their kiss heels have literally snapped after just wearing them for like not even that long. So the Geo baskets, for example, they're made with like good quality leather and stuff like that. But then I have like mainline Ramones, like the leather ones, and they just peel like no man's business. Like that toe box area, I wore it maybe 5 times and it started peeling. And then it started to look horrible. So then I got like white paint and I painted over it. And now it looks like they look fake because it's just like the paint that I painted on it is like too white. Not that I care though, but yeah, so even Rick, there's some stuff that he needs to work on because why is the toe box peeling? It shouldn't be peeling off. Alessandro's style works because he presents a way of dressing that's often easy replicated with vintage. I remember loads of TikToks like here's how to dress like a Gucci model. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier in the stream, Joe. I'm not sure when you hopped in, but I mentioned that I did refer to that earlier in the stream. Okay, let's fly through. Oh no, not those again. Some of these are really cool. Like if you just want a plain like coat, but with some really interesting buttons, it's cool. I could see how that could do well commercially. Because I have to put myself in the mind of the average consumer. Because those are the people that buy most of the stuff. Most customers aren't fashion people. Most customers are just people that want something cool to wear day to day, and that's it. Take them to the cobbler. I should, to be fair. And there's a cobbler that lives right around the corner from my house. So maybe I should do that. Interesting. But anyway, what's you guys' verdict of the Valentino collection? We want just an all-encompassing verdict of the Valentino collection, and then we're going to move into, brands that do interesting footwear and kind of have that conversation and see, what different brands are doing footwear wise. Let me see what you guys say. Chev says, I have let's see what you said. I have the Cyclops boots and the Beetle boots, and they are phenomenal even in context to my other designer boots. Okay, that's interesting. Hmm. It's beating the "This is just Gucci completely removed from the Valentino house codes" allegations, but I personally am not a fan. I love that. This is just Gucci completely removed from the Valentino house codes allegations. I love that. I absolutely love that as a phrase. Feels a little dated. Seeing it again after a break. Chef says I'm waiting for the actual show. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the show as well. I really, really want to see what they do with the show. It's very important. I like it, but I'm biased to the style. Needs more signatures. Let's have a look at once again people saying that Y Project does really good footwear. I really want to see because once again I'm not too familiar. Ooh, this is interesting. Snap boots. Okay. Glenn Martins. And whoever is head of footwear, Y Project. Okay. Crystal slippers. The Melissa Point mule. Okay, that's cool. We have to add Y Project to the list already. I've barely seen anything. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is interesting stuff. Like, already. Okay, they don't even have that much footwear. But what they do have is interesting, though. But they don't have that much footwear. That's not a lot of footwear, though. I thought they'd have more than that. That's disappointing. I was getting excited. They let me down. That's it. How is that it? Oh my I thought we were in for a treat. I was about to like sit down. I was going to lean back into my sofa. We're really going to go deep into it. But it's interesting anyway. It's cool. It's cool. But it's not enough types of footwear to say that Y projects can compete with the likes of Y3 or Rick Owens or the likes of Balenciaga. It's not enough different silhouettes of footwear. I'm so 100% the average consumer just learning about fashion from all you wonderful people. Not the Valentino I loved in my 30s and won't bring me back. So you wear Givenchy and Ralph Lauren now. And Shadow, ooh, that's an interesting rotation. That's a really, really interesting rotation. I'm just happy that Michele is back. I hope the shows are as dramatic as his old Gucci shows. I know, right? People with heads, twin heads on the runway, holding their heads in their hand. Twins casted in a runway show. It's like insane. Okay, go on. What other brands should I look at for footwear that you guys think is interesting? Of course, I know. Let's just look at Y3 because Y3, like I've told you guys, they're just always doing the most when it comes to footwear. They're always making like all this new stuff. Let's look at the footwear. And look at how many different silhouettes, by the way. You can't even compete. But someone said earlier that Y3 is a cheat code, and I 100% agree because it's Adidas. So obviously that's like their area of expertise. So it's kind of not fair. But like, see, stuff like this is Centennial High. I've never seen these before. These are the Kaza Highs. These are obviously the classics. You got some like mountain boots. Like, what the hell are these? Itogo. These look like some like Japanese shoes. Um, it's just so cool. Like they just always have so much stuff that you just never see. Like look at this stuff. Like look at this Gendo run with the space in the sole. Got some more Kaza highs. You've got these Neza highs that look like distressed denim. They've got a low version. Like the Kaiwas. Yeah. You can't compete with Y3, man. Collabs don't count because collabs are collabs, right? They're one-offs. I'm talking about an in-house footwear design team that makes footwear, new footwear every season. So I think smaller brands don't count because smaller brands don't have the means to do that, right? So smaller brands can only do that through collabs. The only small brand I guess you can give credit is Kiko Kostadinov, because even though Kiko doesn't have the means, because he has such a good relationship with Asics, he literally designs new silhouettes with Asics like a lot of the time. So I think Kiko is the only person I think we can consider with that. The other brands just do like one-off collabs. Unless you want to talk about like Comme des Garçons, they do collabs with Nike every season. It's almost like they have like a deal with Nike to just like do a collab every single show. But Comme des Garçons is kind of hit or miss. I don't think they're very consistent. Like some Comme des Garçons Nike collabs are like really cool, and then some of them are just like meh. Like they'll have things like the Nike Vapor Max, where the only difference is that the front says Comme des Garçons. Like those weren't that interesting, or like so Comme des Garçons is like really hit or miss. Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not. Like I have the Air Max 95s that have that exposed kind of like deconstructed aesthetic. I think those are really cool, but some of them are just like, yeah, it's really hit or miss. It just depends. With Comme des Garçons, I wouldn't say they're consistent like Rick or Y3, Balenciaga. They're not that consistent, or even Kiko Asics. They're not that consistent. Oh, someone's saying Magliano. I actually want to see what they've got. They do make some really nice footwear. Some of their footwear does look like really goofy looking. And I don't mean it in a bad way, like goofy in a good way. Like it looks fun, right? It looks like, okay, this looks like really cool. Let's see, search. Okay, just have to go through. Do they not have like a section for footwear? Okay, here it is. Shoes. Let's see. Some of it is really cool, but this is what I mean about it being goofy looking. See what I mean? Like these shoes, they look goofy, but in kind of like a fun way. Like it's fun, it's interesting, it's avant-garde. I like it. It's irregular. Leon Emmanuel Blanc keeps an interesting shoe, even if it is very few. Yeah, I agree. He has some really cool boots. Um, yeah, I've seen him design some really cool boots, to be fair. I always love the shape that Magliano does with a lot of their footwear. Kind of like blocky shape. Like, yeah, this shape. It's more apparent in these kind of shoes, in this style of shoe. That's like really cool. But like I said, it's low-key goofy looking, but it's cool. I love it. It's fun. I would wear those. Like it's cool, it's fun. Let's see what else. What else should we look at? What are people saying? Kiko has had low top derbies. Um, Vans have never failed me. Do Vans have they designed any new silhouettes recently, or is it just the same like old schools or the slip-ons and like all that sort of stuff? I'm still in love with my CDG Moabs. Yeah, the CDG Moabs were nice though. I'll give it to you. The Moabs were decent. The Moabs were decent. They were a bit, what's the word? Not that interestingly designed, I guess, because they're not that different, but they're cool though. Someone's saying Acne Studios for footwear. Let's have a look. Let's see what Acne Studios is working on footwear wise, out of just curiosity. Let's start with women first. Let's see. Shoes. Okay, let's have a look. Lace up mules, those are kind of cool. Let me see that close. Let me see that up close. That's pretty cool. Lace up mules, that's a vibe. Okay, these clogs are fire. That shape is Really, really good. Like super exaggerated. I fuck with those. I like those. This is called Distress Heels. That's fire. Okay, Acne. Whoever said Acne Studios, I forgot about Acne Studios to be fair, but they normally have a massive collection of just stuff, and it's very hit or miss. But I will say that season to season, if you look at like Acne Studios footwear, there's going to be stuff that you would probably like. So whoever said Acne Studios, that was a good thing. That was definitely like a good suggestion. Because yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. And knowing Acne, there'll be a lot of different options too. So there's something in there for everyone, right? Oh, these are the Velcro sneakers they've been doing forever. Like literally since I was in like secondary school. They've been doing this for so long. This is the version of Nike Dunks, that them being lazy, not wanting to do any design. Patchwork leather boots. That's cool. Let me see it from a different angle. I feel like they'll be more interesting from a different angle. That's interesting. These look like they'll be expensive. I just glanced at the price and it's £900. They look like they would cost £900, to be fair. Ugg Telfar was kind of interesting. It was cool. It was cool. They've had some really interesting collabs. Like, do you guys remember when they collaborated with Y Project on a few runway collections? That was really cool. Like the thigh high Ugg boots that were like crazy on social media back then. That was like an interesting time in fashion in general. Pretty cool. Lace up heel boots. Okay, these rubber ankle boots. Let me see. Are they translucent? I hope not. It's gonna make them look weird. I feel like those boots have potential, but maybe not that one. Okay, let's have a look at some of the men's footwear. If there's anything different. Okay, so they're going a lot with this. The toe box has this exaggerated rise at the front that they're working with. I like it though, so I'm a fan of it. Like, Bottega as a bigger brand, Sakai and Jill Sander for smaller brands have interesting footwear, but not so many people buy. And forget to mention Dries, Loewe also. Not many styles, but growing. Okay, we're gonna have a look at some of those. Um, I don't know. I've never in my life seen Sakai footwear. Like every time I go to Dover Street Market, what I see, maybe it's just the buyers of the stores I go to, but when I think of Sakai, I just think of military aesthetic. It's cool, by the way. It's amazing. Like MA1 jackets kind of transformed into blouses and all that sort of stuff. That's what I always see from Chitose Abe. I never see the footwear in stores. And when I think of Sakai footwear, I just think of the Nike collab. So actually, I would love to, not me searching for Sakai and Sainsbury's came up. That's funny. But I would love to see what footwear is on their website because I actually don't have a clue. Okay, let's look at some of the men's footwear. Okay, that's cool. Vibram Sole, these like chunky loafers. That's cool. But not many styles though, just 3 different styles for men. We're going to look at the women in a second. But that's cool because, yeah, I had no idea that Sakai even made their own footwear because I just never see anyone wearing it. These are cool, like the spiky. This reminds me of what's that brand that makes these shoes? Is it Trippin? Is that the brand? Trippin that makes those shoes with that kind of a similar sole like that. If you guys know what Trippin is, it just reminds me of like Trippin. I don't know. What are people talking about? Marcel, definitely more interesting than these. Someone saying Jimmy Choo. That's cool. It's cool, but not enough styles though. With Sakai, it's not a lot there. Why are these called the wingtip loafers? Wait, one sec. Okay, this penny in the penny loafers, like I've seen many designers do that, like a play on words type thing. Why are they? Maybe because this part sticks out. Wingtip loafers. It's cool though. I'll definitely wear those. Like the heel is like really big. Of course, this isn't designed with me in mind because they're women's shoes, and I'm a US 12, UK 11, so I wouldn't fit in any of these. They wouldn't be my size. These are cool as shit. These tube strap and ankle belt sandals are fire. These go hard. Oh, the wingtip is the dots. Okay, that's interesting. Got to go, girls not out. Thank you so much for tuning in, Jennifer. Hopefully you can watch it back in when you get the time. But have an amazing girls' night out. Again, it's hard to compare. A lot of people are mentioning footwear brands versus designer brands that are making interesting footwear, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's why I said that Y3 is a cheat code. And now, for the most part, I'm only trying to look at what luxury brands are doing with their footwear, not necessarily footwear brands. Of course, they're footwear brand. Of course, they're good. It's like saying, oh, Camper Lab does interesting footwear. Of course they do. It's Camper. Like, so yeah, that's kind of why I'm looking at, like, I'm taking most of the suggestions that are the actual luxury brands and seeing what we can find on their website. Sakai Boys stand up. People keep saying Loewe, so let's have a look at Loewe. I mean, the stuff that I see on the runway is cool, but what's famous right now, you guys know this on running collaboration that they have is the most uninteresting collab I've ever seen. It's just the same shoe with the Loewe logo slapped on the side, and people are ranting and raving about those shoes. That being said, the stuff I see on the runway is actually really interesting. But I don't know why people are ranting and raving about those shoes like they're the most innovative things we've ever seen. Okay, we're looking at the men's shoes first. I like looking at the men's first because the men's footwear is always less interesting. So you can kind of get that out of the way and then look at the women's wear stuff after. Okay, we've got a biker boot in brush suede, calf skin. We've got Van slip-on rip-offs. Someone said on running is gross. You've got the fisherman sandals. Mm, eh. I mean, some of this stuff is not that interesting. I mean, Chelsea boots with rhinestones. What in the? Let me not even say. Mm, dip dye. You can get this at Baluti. That's not that interesting. These shoes remind me of Diodoras, like the suede Diodoras. Mm, maybe it's just the men. Like I said, the menswear footwear is always horrible because people just think that men don't like to dress nicely or interesting, which is actually low key true because most men they just want to wear some like plain ass loafer. Let's have a look at the women's wear. This is where the fun begins. Midlife crisis, single dad shoes. Wait, Luke, is that? Wait, you got approached by a CNN reporter? That's crazy. Are you actually being serious? That's insane. Okay, we've got these heels. That's really cool. Heels that are meant to look like a belt loop. Very JW Anderson. That's really interesting. That's cool. And I like the detailing here on the hardware, Loewe on both sides. That's really interesting. That's cool. Just a little bit of fun in a heel that would otherwise be basic. And then even because I know JW Anderson likes to do funny things with the heel, like Here you can see it's very, yeah, that's cool. Have a pair of the brush suede in orange, and they're my favorite. Luke says, I swear to God, damn, that's crazy. Good luck with your interview. Okay, they've got slipper versions, the belt loop shoes, that are some more things playing with the heel. We've got pumps with all over sequins. Oh yeah, Loewe's footwear is strong. We can add let's add Loewe to the list. We're building a list. Let me write it down in my notes app. So at the end of this discussion, I'll just post. So we've said Loewe, Rick Owens, right? Rick Owens. We said Kiko Kostajanov makes interesting footwear. I can agree with that. Who else is on our list? Balenciaga. I feel like I'm missing someone. Rick Owens, Kiko, Balenciaga, Loewe. Y3 doesn't count, remember, because it's Adidas. The old Loewe designer is now at the Row, and they are rehashing her designs. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. That's what just happens normally anyway. But let's continue looking at the footwear. These are really cool. That's a really interesting shape of slipper. That's cool. Okay, the denim boots. Okay, yeah, Loewe is definitely on the list. Is that Loewe is on the list? I've seen enough. Like the consistency is there. I mean, this is all the like surreal stuff that is on the runway, like a heel that's made to look like a rose, like all that sort of stuff that JW Anderson does that is fun. What does anyone own any of these heels, by the way? Because the material of that doesn't look fantastic. It doesn't look like it would last long. Is that plastic? It looks kind of plasticky. Hmm. Hmm. I need to go into a store and look at that, and then I'll report on that back on another stream. I'm really trying to. Let's see what they say in the description in terms of second skin pumped, crafted in lambskin with a petal-shaped toe and a rose heel, but they don't say what the heel is made of. That's alarm bells are ringing. They tell you what the upper is made of. They tell you that it's lambskin. They tell you that it's a toy rose pump in lambskin, but they don't tell us what the heel is made of. Dodgy. Alarm bells are ringing. You have to weigh 93 pounds or less to wear them. So it's made of nylon. Okay, is that like because when you say nylon, I'm just trying to figure out like if you're heavy or if like you walk a funny way, will it snap? If you step on an angle, it looks snappable, is my point, which for 1,300 pounds, yes, the heel shouldn't be snappable. But yeah, the women's wear footwear is way more interesting. Like stuff like this, stuff like this. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. Loewe is on the list. It's on the list. It's on the list. Any more suggestions? Loewe is definitely on the list though. 100%. 100%. I'm so Yancy says I'm sure it's reinforced. Yeah, it will be. I hope so. I'd like to believe so. For that price, imagine it isn't. Oh my god. Because the assumption I make is that at certain price points, certain like it would be reinforced and stuff like that. But I just don't put anything past luxury brands these days because they just cut every corner under the sun. I just can't put stuff past them anymore. But yeah, the Loewe stuff is amazing. This stuff is cool. This stuff is really cool. And we're still going. See how many options women get. The one thing I'm jealous of women in many aspects of life, But as a fashion, someone that loves fashion and is really into fashion, I am so jealous of women in terms of how interesting women's fashion is. It's so much more interesting than menswear. Menswear is so dry compared to, look at how many footwear options, I'm still scrolling, women have. And even if I wanted to buy the women's wear, I can't buy it because my feet are too big. So I have like feet that only work for menswear because I only get menswear sizes like EU46. So maybe if I was like a twink, I wouldn't be so pissed off because I could just wear the women's wear that I liked. But because I can't, I'm just always so jealous. Like women have it fun. Look at the fun like clothes that women have to wear. Like, geez, I'm so jealous. So jealous. Ronnie says same clown ass feet. But I think now menswear is going strong and it seems like it is going to be stronger. Yeah, it does, because a lot of luxury brands now, they're really focusing on menswear as a category because they've realized that that's the one place where a lot of brands haven't invested in. So there's a lot of money to be made in that side of things. But yeah, it's just annoying sometimes. It's like you go into the women's, like, how many of you guys have been to, if you're based in the UK, have you guys been to Bicester Village? Like, and this is why sometimes I have to remember that I'm a man, because I'll be watching all these. I remember back in the day, I used to watch these influencers like Lizzie Hadfield, and she'll be like, if you go to Bicester Village, there's like Phoebe Philo Celine for a steal. I got these like runaway pumps, blah, blah, blah. So one time I was like, okay, let me go to this Bicester Village and see what's going on in this place. And I went there, and truly the women's wear section, 50% off, runaway pieces from seasons back. Everything is amazing. You go into the menswear section and it's like plain shirts and a few blazers. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, she should have given us a disclaimer that only go if you're a woman, because if you're a man, there's nothing there for you. Like, there's just nothing interesting for you, especially if you're a man that can't fit into women's wear like me. Um, so yeah, that was a disaster. That was a waste of a trip. Like literally every store. Like I went into the Prada store, runway pieces, fire stuff, and then you go to the menswear section, it's just shirts, plain shirts. I get so pissed off walking through Zara's women's just to see the shitty men's section. I'm not even asking for much. All I'm asking for, let's just start with trousers. Why do men only get like straight trousers, skinny trousers, and that's about it? Women will get flares. You go to Y Project, they have these trousers for women with different zips, all this stuff. And then the menswear is just straight fit trousers. Just like, like, can we design something interesting for men? Like seriously, not every man just wants to like be boring all the time. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. It literally annoys me every single time I go shopping. It's so damn annoying. Learn to make your own clothes. A lot of clothes I actually get made for myself, actually, for this exact reason, but it's time consuming. It's very time consuming. Design your own unique menswear collection. I mean, I design clothes for myself, but no one else. Maybe I should like launch a capsule collection just for tall people, like the tall collection or something, and it'll be really interesting, like flared trousers with different zip closures and all that sort of stuff. And you can only fit into it if you're like tall. Yeah, someone just said I gotta go to Kiko for trousers. So I love Kiko trousers, but they're too short. They're always too short. And when I say like I try them on every new season in DSM, they're too short. They're never long enough. It's better, IO, because you're not tempted to buy a lot of things. That's funny. I make most of my clothes patterning and all. It's sick. Yeah, it's fun. It's just like I said, it's time consuming, but I do it sometimes. Like I recently made a shirt for myself. But I need to like tweak it. But yeah, So sometimes, but it takes forever. Shaking my head, be like me, cop the IO capsule collection, get the trousers tailored. Boom, ergonomics. But that's the thing, like if you're not tall, you can just buy trousers that are too long for you and then tailor it how you want. But you can't do it the other way around. So I can't buy a pair of Kiko trousers and then add fabric to the end. So I'm always losing. It's a lose-lose situation. I'm always the one that comes out with the loss because I'm the one that won't be able to extend the fabric. You can't just extend the trousers. Whereas like you can definitely tailor trousers, you can shorten things, you can take things away, but you can't really add. I hate saying my height because 6'2" is a meme now. The funny thing is, I'm 6'2", and I don't even think that's that tall because when I lived in Nigeria, I was average height, literally. I wasn't tall. I was average. Like no one looked at me. I was like, "Oh my god, you're so tall." Only in the UK because I think people in the UK aren't really tall, but in Nigeria, people are literally giants. So I always felt I was average height. Um, so yeah, I don't even think I'm that tall. I don't think 6'2" is like massive. I'm not like 6'9" or 6'7". Lord knows how those people find clothes. If I have such an issue finding clothes for myself, can you imagine being 6'5" and trying to find clothing? Literally impossible. Literally impossible. So my inseam is 35 inches. And it hurts my soul because most brands stop at 34. And I'm like, why not just stop at 36 or 35? Why not? Like from time to time, I do find brands that make trousers my size. A good example is not too long ago, I bought a suit from Random Identities. I bought it in DSM. And the trousers are actually too long for me, which is shocker. I've never had that experience before. I'm loving it. Trousers that are too long. Wow. So Random Identities, I guess, like I'm gonna see what they have next time I go to DSM, like new season. But I can definitely say they have like really long inseam trousers, and when I have the time, I can get them tailored to like my actual measurements. So that's fine. So Random Identities is always a brand that I look out for. Yoji sometimes has trousers that are long enough, but sometimes it's rare. The thing I love about Yoji is the fit of the trousers is always insane, and then I wear it and they look like crop trousers. So unless I'm going for like the crop trouser look, then Yoji isn't for me because they're just going to be too short. So it depends. It really, really depends. It really depends. But Random Identities is the most consistent one I've found so far in terms of length. The Stefano Pilati experience. Facts. As a tall man, I love buying Acne Studios because what is meant to fit oversized fits me perfectly. Oh my god! So I'm not the only person that does that. Like I will buy like an oversized something that's marketed as oversized, and I'll like try it on, and it fits perfectly, and like I buy it. But I'm like, well, I'm not getting how it's intended to be worn on the runway, but it's fine. I have a jacket that fits. I'm happy. I literally do that all the time. It's like a life hack. The Sabato shorts will look like panties on you talking. They're so short that like it's funny because when I buy shorts for basketball, I buy shorts that are marketed as over the knee, long shorts, knowing fully well that they won't reach my knees. But I have to, make up for these things. So I buy long shorts knowing fully well that they'll be just about at my knees or maybe less. But that's hilarious. My inseam is 3 inches and I'm 5'7". I stay buying trousers in the tall. Oh my god, you've got some really long legs. Because my inseam is only 2 inches longer and I'm 6'2". So yeah, L, you've got some long legs. That's cool though. You've got that model build, really long legs and tiny torso. All legs. We love to see it. I don't get the Acne Studios DNA at the moment. Sometimes I can't distinguish acne from Otterlinger. Yeah, I can see that. I can see why you would say that, to be fair. I can say that. Exactly, you woman, you. It's giving model. Just all legs, small torso. I'm built the same, to be fair. My torso is really tiny. It's just legs. Just absolute leg. Elle says, I wore jack-ups and ankle swingers for years as a kid. How does Elle have the same inseam as me? And I'm a skyscraper. It's just your proportions. Some people have a more balanced body, like they have a torso and legs that are in good proportion. I don't have good proportions. I'm just like all leg for the most part. And then like a really small torso. Elle says I can't touch my toes. That's funny. No, we're going Vogue Runway. Oh, Undercover just launched their collection. That'll be interesting to talk about maybe later. Louis Vuitton show, don't want to talk about that. Xenia was actually at that show. That was really cool. I didn't know that the Row just dropped something. That's interesting to see. But let's go back to the Valentino stuff. Why did I press? I was thinking of Resort in my head, and then I pressed R. Let's just search. Valentino. Someone said McQueen used to have. Oh yeah, McQueen had amazing footwear, sensational footwear. My torso is long. I hate it. 6'3", and my inseam is 34. You shouldn't hate it though. If you're 6'3" and your inseam is 34, you would have no issue buying clothes because when I buy jackets, so let me tell you all the different things I have to do to because of my body, like my proportions. So first of all, it's hard to find trousers because 35-inch inseam. Then when it comes to jackets, every single jacket that is because I have long arms for my height. Like I have arms that you would have for a 6'2" person, but not the torso. So if I get a jacket that fits the sleeves, it's going to be too long. And then if I get a jacket that's short on the sleeves, it might fit perfectly. So I buy every jacket under the sun that's cropped, that's marketed as cropped, fits perfectly on me because I have a short torso. So I have to get the jackets with elongated sleeves and then a cropped body, and that fits just right. So like people, they'll see me and I'll wear a jacket and they're like, oh my God, that fits so nice. Like, where did you find that? And I'm like, it's just because I have a small torso and I have a cropped jacket that looks normal. That's why that's why it looks cool or it looks nice. He said I've got the Eric Bledsoe build. Exactly. Like the ripped crop bombers are perfect for me. I actually have the ripped crop bombers, actually. I have two. Perfect. Like the fit is sensational on me because my torso is so small. Satan's the short sleeves drive me insane. That name, it spins me every time. I was about to read it, then I was like, maybe not. I don't want to be cursed for life. The grass is always greener and all bodies are beautiful and have their own issues. Yeah, that's true. You know, men that are tall, men that are smaller want to be short. People like me that men that are short want to be tall, sorry. People like me that are taller want to be small so I can fit into clothes. You know, some women that have small boobs want bigger boobs. Some women that have bigger boobs, they're like, oh, my back hurts. I want smaller boobs. It's the cycle of life, right? Everyone wants what they can't have. It's just human nature. Ihle's mum was gonna end the stream if he said the name too loud. That's hilarious. Someone asked if we're in after hours. We are certainly in after hours. However, I'm only going to be on a stream for like 20 more minutes and then I'm going to leave because once again, I want these streams to be easy for people to watch back. Men that are tall want to be smaller to fit into clothes. I've never felt so heard. It's true though. I have those frustrations every day. It's like, do the benefits of being tall outweigh the drawbacks of not being able to fit in amazing clothes? Is it worth it? Is it worth, when women see me like, oh my God, you're so tall. Like, that's amazing. You're like really tall. Or like when I go on a date and the girl has never met me in person. She's like, oh my God, you're like taller than I thought. Oh my God. It's because I have a small torso, so people think I'm short. But it's like, you're so much taller than I thought. Do those benefits outweigh not being able to fit into clothes? Pros and cons, opportunity cost. Okay, so after hours, for guys that are new to the streamers, so the topic of today, of course, is Alessandro Michele's Valentino. So after hours is after we've talked about the topic, we talk about just random stuff for like the rest of the live. So that's like after hours. So when we start veering into different topics, that's why people are like, are we in after hours now? So they can ask unrelated questions that aren't related to Alessandro Michele at Valentino. I'm 6'1" and I couldn't fit into Craig Green when I tried it at DSM. It was frustrating because I had the budget to buy a lot of things. I know, right? It's really frustrating not being able to fit into like some stuff that you see that you're like, that is amazing. And then you try it on in the store and it's like, yeah, it doesn't fit. The amount of times I've lied to myself saying, oh, I'll just get this smaller size and roll up the sleeves, it'll be fine. It gets annoying after a while. You just want something that like this that is actually at your sleeves. But even here, it's not exactly at my sleeve. You can see there's a gap, but it's okay. This is like for tall people, we can tolerate this kind of gap, right? I am doing the voice of Spicy Whites. Not the Spicy Whites. That's a Micah law right there. Did Wild and Lethal Treasure. You prefer the 5-hour live streams, really? I always just think that no one's going to watch it back if I let the streams just drag on for too long, which is why I'm trying to make them more snappy. But hey, if the audience says they want them longer, who am I to say that I shouldn't do it longer? I consider myself lucky um, at 63 to be 175 cm and a size 10 US now after being skinny but healthy all my life. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So long as you're not too tall, you'll be fine. Oh my God, you're so tall. Oh my God, you're so tall. They don't sound Californian. I'm just being annoying because obviously there's Americans on the stream. And I feel like Americans always make fun of British people and British people always make fun of Americans. It's just it's part of life. So that's why I do that weird California voice. I live in the UK. These people don't sound American. They probably sound more like, oh, you're rather tall. You're rather tall. You're a lot taller than I thought, actually. You're really tall, aren't you? That's probably how they sound. Love being almost 6 foot in heels and platforms. Can see over all the short folks' big heads. Oh my word. Someone says I like the 4 hour stream. Oh wow, people really do like the long streams. Just give us one long stream a month at least. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll do that. Agreed. 6 hour streams are valid. The 6, I need 3 lunches to finish. I love that. You sit down and have your lunch and then watch the streams part by part. The live streams are the best background noise for when I'm sewing at like 3 a.m. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I've started adding timestamps. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I've actually really started adding timestamps. So yeah. 21 Elijah, you want to hear what you have to say in your sleep. Just I was Cali voice. Cali girl voice is the best. We need a whole stream in that accent. I Keezy, you're funny. To be honest, my California voice is terrible. Like I will be the first person to put my hands up and say that my California accent is a shit show. I'll literally be the first to say that. It's not great. Everyone is saying they love the long streams. Oh wow. I'm disconnected from the people. Oh my god, love the long streams. Just give us timestamps for the rewatch. Yeah, I put the timestamps in the description, but the reason I do that is because it normally divides the video. When you put timestamps in the description, when you're watching the video, it gets divided into sections. So you can like click through the sections. Yeah, the chat is agreeing on the long streams continuing. Just mumbling how much he loves Andy over and over, counting pieces instead of counting sheep. Thing is, Brits can never do a real US accent. It's a bad California or a terrible Dixie accent. And you're absolutely right. You're perfectly right. But I also think that some Americans do a good British accent, but sometimes it's just so exaggerated. It's like me doing a California accent. It's like, do you want some tea and crumpets? And it's just like, it's always, do you want some tea? It's so over exaggerated. And I also think that a lot of Americans think that there's one British accent, which is like how I sound, which is like how Londoners sound. It's like Queen's English. But you go to like north of England, Newcastle, the Scousers, actually, Northerners, all that stuff. I feel like people will be lost. People won't know what's going on. I have a great British accent because I had a British accent during part of my life. Okay, that's fair enough. No, we can pull off East Coast accents. Not sure if Io can give us an example. I don't want to be the flag bearer. Long streams are vibe. I've been working out while listening and reading the chat. Okay, that's cool. I guess I've got to incorporate the long streams then. That's what the people want. You got to give the people what they want. It's easier for some Americans to do an Irish accent than British. I only order tea in a British accent. Ilya says Scousers are low-key undercover Scots. That's funny. I mean, they're close to Scotland, so you're not wrong. I have a teacher from Mansfield. Her accent is insane. How she says idiots has me in tears. Martin Rose or Andy? I'm going to go for Andy. But I love Martin Rose though, but I'm going to go for Andy. How do y'all have so many accents in such a small country? I don't understand that, to be fair. I don't actually understand why. It doesn't make sense, does it? Now that I think about it, it really doesn't make any sense. There shouldn't be that many accents in such a small country. I need to look into that. There will be a historical reason. You're all right. You're all right. Tuesday. Tuesday. That's funny. Tuesday. Elle says I hate the Scouse accent with the passion. And Elle lives in Scotland, so that's funny. Lesego says, hi, Red Man. I'm Les from South Africa. Love your work. Shout out to South Africa. Shout out to South Africa. We love South Africa. Okay, but which black or brown people wear Andy? That's funny. Fuck the accents, fuck us up with your food. I'll be the first person to put my hand up and say that British food is atrocious. Like, British food is terrible. Let me tell you what British. Oh, British government don't want me to talk about British food. That's why my stream got X'd out. That's funny. I was like, let me tell you about British food. And I was like, whoop, goodbye. The government were like, don't expose our great nation to this audience with Americans in there. Um, someone said the king cut the stream. Rishi Sunak is like, how dare you speak badly of the nation? Imagine, like, after the stream, someone knocks on my door and it's like MI6. Like, we just heard a report that you're speaking badly about the nation. But like with British food, I think, let's be honest, like a lot of English people just don't have a sense of like flavor. Like, if I'm just going to be honest. So a lot of Brits, they think that salt and pepper is seasoning. So when they think salt and pepper is seasoning, I mean, there's not much you can do with that. Like, where do you go from there, right? So Brits were not really good at food, but when it comes to desserts, mince pies, the apple crumbles, the sponge cakes, we're good at desserts. Like, Brits can do a dessert. Brits can bake. When it comes to baking, Brits are up there. But food, no. No. Any kind of like dish, no seasoning, dry, tasteless, no. Like, so that's where the Brits shine. When it comes to baking, pastries, they know pies, crumbles, cakes. That's where we shine. But if you're coming to England expecting some like crazy cuisine, you're in the wrong place. Go to Italy. Um, go to Italy or go to France or Spain, but not the UK. The UK is not. Yeah, like go to Portugal or somewhere. Not England. England is not the place for you. Yeah, Portugal does have really good pastries too. I mean, France too. So it just depends. The Great British Bake Off, exactly. There's a reason why that's a big show. The Brits can bake. The Brits can bake. British food, let's deep fry some boiled meat and cabbage. Oh my god, that's funny. English breakfast is like, it's okay. It's all right. It's not like, it's no lasagna. It's no like, you know what I mean? It's no carbonara. Like, English breakfast it's all right. It's okay. It's decent. It's reasonable. Sunday roast. So the thing about Sunday roast is that it depends on who makes it. Because because I grew up in a Nigerian household. In this house, it's Nigeria. Outside, it's England. So obviously, when my mum was cooking Sunday roast growing up, she would season it. She would add garlic, add seasoning, add thyme, rosemary, all this stuff, and it's flavorful. Like, she'll have lamb instead of like turkey or chicken. So I grew up thinking that that's just how a Sunday roast tastes. Like, my mum would make these rosemary potatoes cooked in like, I think it was like duck fat or something like that, and it had this like really nice flavor. That was what I was used to growing up. That in my head is what Sunday roast was. And then I started going to my white friends' houses, and I love them, but the food, so tasteless. Like, the turkey tastes like they bought the turkey from the shop and they just put it into the oven. No seasoning, no marinade, no salt, no pepper, nothing. It just tasted like just turkey, just like plain dry turkey. Like, some of the turkeys that I ate at my white friends' houses were so dry, I had to drink water after every bite because it was so dry. So when people say Sunday roast, it depends who's making it. It depends. It depends. It depends. It depends. It depends because some Sunday roasts I've had to drink a gallon of water, mate. If you ever want some bad cholesterol, high blood pressure, and an insulin shot, hit me up. That's funny. A plain British Sunday roast every Sunday hurts sometimes, though. Jamaican Sunday roast will put you in a coma. That's funny. It's interesting how you guys also have the thing where you can only find real bagels on places with a history of Jewish immigrants in the early 1900s, like Brick Lane. That's facts. That's 100% true. That's facts. That's facts. That's facts. Bring hot sauce with you. That's rude though. I don't want to go to like someone's house and like be like, this food is tasteless. Let me bring out my sauce that I brought, knowing fully well. I already premeditated that this would taste horrible and I would need my sauce to kind of zhuzh up the food. Nah, I can't. I feel like that's really rude. I'd rather just drink loads of water and eat dry chicken. I'd rather just eat dry chicken. Nigerian food I've only eaten a few times was so delicious. Great spices and surprisingly the most delicious yams I've ever eaten. Yeah, Nigerians, we love that fresh yam. Amazing food. The only thing that I'll say about Nigerian food is that a lot of it can be really greasy and oily. So it depends who makes it because it can be really unhealthy if like someone just puts too much oil, which some people do. Um, but so long as there isn't too much oil, Nigerian food is sensational, like top tier. But the oil, you just need to be careful about the oil because the calories, it can get a bit much. So I like cooking Nigerian food for myself because I can put less oil. But if I go to my auntie's house and she's cooked all this Nigerian food, I have to eat small quantities because I don't know about the oil content. Yeah, exactly. Like palm oil, exactly. It can be heavy. Like the oil can be a bit, yeah. British people will bring a gravy that somehow makes the chicken drier. That's funny. That is hilarious. Gravy that makes the chicken drier is funny as hell. That is so funny. Oh my god. Why are Nigerian elders always anti-Diet Coke? It's probably because in Nigeria we have like the Coke and Fanta in Nigeria. I think it's similar because I think that I have Mexican friends that go to Mexican restaurants just to get Mexican like Fanta and Coke. We kind of do the same thing. Like I go to Nigerian restaurants to get Nigerian Coke and Fanta because it has all the preservatives and all the artificial flavorings and all the artificial colors, and it's unhealthy as crap, but it tastes amazing. So it's like if I'm going to drink Fanta, let me just drink the bad one because most of the time I drink water anyway. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people do that because I know Mexicans do that too. Yeah, avocado oil is the healthiest to fry or cook. I'm not rich enough to start deep frying with avocado oil yet. That's an expensive endeavor, but I do cook with avocado oil. 100%. 100%. But the only issue with avocado oil is it doesn't really have much of a flavor. So depending on like there's a difference between if I cook for myself or if I have guests. So if I cook like a stir fry, for myself, I'm gonna just put a teaspoon of avocado oil, trying to be healthy. But if I cook for guests, I have to use like sesame oil or something with more of like a flavor profile that'll make it taste better. So I think it just depends. But avocado oil is definitely good for you. Has a high smoke point. So olive oil is healthy, but the problem is the smoke point is low. So it burns too quickly. So you can't like deep fry in olive oil. And you can't like you shouldn't really be stir frying things in olive oil either. Olive oil should be something that you add to like some dishes, like Italian dishes where everything's kind of cooked and you kind of garnish it with olive oil, or you use it as a salad dressing. But any sort of heat and olive oil gets damaged really fast. So avocado oil is like number one oil for any sort of like cooking with heat. Yeah, you shouldn't be frying in olive oil. That's not good. That's not good. That's not good. Oh my god, not this becoming like a health live stream. Jeez. I am some type of oil specialist. No, I'm just obsessed. Like I like cooking and stuff. I like it. I like cooking, so I just know loads of things about food. Um, yeah, exactly. Olive oil is not for heat. It has too much water content. Yeah, exactly. Cooking, avocado oil, salad, olive oil, MCT, that's facts. Um, or like shake or teas. Yeah. Nicholas has it perfect. Nicholas has it down to a science. But the only thing about avocado oil, once again, it's not cheap because not enough people make it yet. So, and I buy like cold pressed, since this is after hours, let me show you where I buy all this stuff from. If you're in the UK, you can kind of buy it from here, but this is like my my spot for all this kind of stuff. It's called Hunter and Gather, and like everything they make is like organic, and it's like I'll show you guys anyway. Put it on the screen. So it's this company here. They were, I think, one of the first people to offer like to sell cold pressed avocado oil in the UK. But this is the one I buy. So extra virgin cold pressed avocado oil. But it's it's not super expensive, but it's too expensive for me to like deep fry in it. But one day when I'm rich, I'm just gonna move every single thing I cook to just using avocado oil, even deep frying. Then I'll know I'm on some like health buff thing. But it's too expensive for me to deep fry at this moment. But everything else, yeah, I use it. I is showing us he buys an Arrow one with Balenciaga pants. That's funny. Yeah, someone said £11 is crazy. Exactly. So it's not cheap. It's not cheap. I hate cooking. It feels like a scam. Why does it take me 2 hours to cook and clean, but it only takes me 15 minutes to eat? I think for me, why I love cooking is because cooking is my time to do like fashion research. So the only time I listen to fashion podcasts, like my fashion podcast time, is when I go for walks or when I'm cooking. And because it takes me so long to cook, I just go through like really long form podcasts. Like recently I was listening to a podcast with that guy, Dye Workwear, which was really insightful. So that was really, really fun because I was just cooking and just listening and taking in all the knowledge, the menswear knowledge, listening to the podcast. Are your excuses these shops at Waitrose? Nah, I shop at Asda. I have an Asda around the corner from where I live. So I buy like my day-to-day groceries, like fruits and vegetables and meat and stuff from Asda. And then stuff that I can't buy in Asda, I find websites like Hunter and Gather for like avocado oil. I get olive oil when I go to Italy because I always go to Italy for like fashion week or other reasons for work. So every time I'm in Italy, I pick up some balsamic vinegar and extra virgin olive oil, especially if I'm in Florence. Because for me, I love the taste of Florence olive oil. It's like peppery and spicy. It's like the best. And it has the best flavor profile, I think. So, but those are the only two things I think where I buy them elsewhere: olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and avocado oil. Everything else I just buy in Asda. So I'm not shopping in Waitrose. Definitely not a Waitrose customer. I was watching this live while cooking. Someone says, Shav says, I hate fast food and eating out steeps into my shoes budget. So I cook literally every day. I'm cooking right now. I just like the process of cooking. And also, what I love about cooking the most is that I can control the ingredients. So I know whatever I'm eating, like I can eat a really unhealthy meal and make it healthy. Like if I make a burger, I buy like damn near pure minced beef where it's like the beef content is like very low fat, like maybe like 3% fat minced beef, and I make it into my own patty and I season it with my own seasonings, and then I add like the vegetables I want to add. I make my own sauce, my own burger sauce. I can bake a fresh like bun, and I've turned it into a very healthy meal, something that burgers are considered really unhealthy. So because I can control the ingredients, I love being able to cook because it means I can eat anything really and it's not super unhealthy. But when you start eating out, you don't know what they put in that food. And it's just like luxury brands. Like restaurants love to cut corners because it's all about money. So they might deep fry your food in oil that looks absolutely disgusting. And if you saw the oil, you probably would never eat the food because they're trying to cut corners. They don't want to change the oil just yet because it's going to cost them money. So that's the thing. I always feel uncomfortable when I have to eat out because I'm like, I don't know what's in this food. I don't know what oils they're using. I don't know what kind of seasoning they've put in. I don't know. There could be steroids in the meat. Who knows? Like, you just don't know. This is also a fact. You can't calorie count when you sit down at a restaurant. Um, Restaurants will feed you deer ankles as chicken. Exactly. That's that's exactly why, like, I just like to be in control of like what I'm cooking and stuff. Exactly. Most restaurants use canola oil, which is cheap and it's not good for you. Like canola oil, deep frying with canola oil. Why do I know all this stuff? It causes inflammation, which is why it's not good to use. Yeah, cooking is the best, healthier, cheaper, and it's meditative. I agree. Do you not use older grease? So basically, if I have a deep fryer, so I change the oil from time to time. So how I play it by because the oil starts as like really light, as it starts to get darker, I'm like monitoring it, and then past a certain like shade of yellow, I'm like, okay, I should probably change it. I don't wait till it goes like black or like any of those kind of colors. Whereas I feel like at a restaurant, it's gonna be black and brown and all sorts, and they're still deep frying it in that oil because they're trying to, save costs, trying to cut costs. Me after anything, why do I know all this stuff? Even five-star restaurants cheat. My nephew is a chef de partie in New Orleans. Exactly. It's even if it's a five-star restaurant, it's still a business. So they still have to try to find different ways to save money. And that's going to come from somewhere, right? Whether it's the oil, whether it's, buying cheaper meat. And when you cook, because I cook a lot, right? When you cook, you can taste the difference like no tomorrow. Like when I go into a restaurant, I can bite through chicken and be like, this was frozen, this is not fresh, because there's a vast difference in the texture of chicken, even when I cook for myself, from when I put it in the freezer and then like bring it out of the freezer versus when it's fresh. It's like huge. Or like, these tomatoes that you used in this, they weren't fresh, they're from a tin, aren't they? Like you can always tell when you start cooking a lot for yourself. And so that's why, like, most restaurants, I'm like, how do these people have a job? Like, I go to some restaurants and I order a steak, and I'm like, okay, please, can it be medium rare? And it comes back bloody, and it's like, that's not medium rare. Medium rare is pink in the middle. That's what medium rare is. And like, I don't even order steaks anymore because I just feel like I can always make a better steak than in a restaurant. They always like make horrible steaks and it tastes like it has the texture of rubber, and I'm just like, why did I spend all this money on a steak when I could just buy the steak and just make it for myself? um like literally. My favorite thing to cook is a bowl of cereal. That's funny. A bowl of cereal. I love to cook Cheerios. Frosted Flakes. Oh, fantastic. Cornflakes? What do you guys know about the cornflakes? That's one thing I hate. Most Brits eat dry chicken breast instead of the thigh and leg, so they never stock enough at supermarkets. Yeah. Oh my God, that's facts. I never eat chicken breast because it's too dry. I can't do it. And like if I make like a stir fry with chicken thigh fillets, then I don't use any oil because the oil comes from the fat in the chicken thigh fillets, and that kind of adds to the flavor too. So, but Brits are not the best cooks in the world. Let's be honest, they're not the most fantastic. So it is what it is. But they know how to bake. He said, "Damn, so I was Loki a food snob. I'm here for it." It's fucking raw. It's raw. Shout out to Gordon Ramsay. This is why it's after hours. How do we start talking about Valentino and end talking about steaks? That's why people love after hours. It's random. It's really, really random. Don't you guys use sunflower oil occasionally? Yeah, it's once again talking about the healthiest oils to use. It's a bit tongue tied there. Geez, can't speak. Is different to what I actually use. Like I said earlier, I can't afford to deep fry with avocado oil. Can you imagine if let's see how much this is, like a one-time order. So it's £12.50 for 500 milliliters. And to fill up my deep fryer, I would need like 6 bottles. That's almost £70. Actually, it's more than £70 on just oil for my deep fry. That is so expensive. So when I deep fry, I use like sunflower oil for my deep fryer, but I don't deep fry a lot. But when I do, that's what I use. But one day, hopefully, I'll be able to afford to actually deep fry with avocado oil. But for now, way too expensive. It's so, yeah. You're giving Hunter and Gather a whole lot of promo, not gonna lie. I don't mind because I buy these products, right? I'm not like, the influencers that are like, oh my God, buy this product, and like they would never even use it. And they only endorse products that they get paid to endorse. I'm the opposite. I'm just like, guys, I buy from Hunter and Gather. If you're interested and you're based in the UK and you want to get onto that, avocado oil life, Hunter and Gather is the one. I can vouch for it because I use them all the time. So you guys are cooking up 3 meals a day. So sometimes I food prep. So sometimes I might just cook in bulk, cook like a large quantity, and then I can just keep eating it over the next few days or something. I don't just like sit down and cook 3 square meals every day. That's very time consuming. Use the code IO10 for $10 off your next purchase of $9,000 or more. That's funny. There's something Hunter and Gather actually released. They released something. Yeah, this is something I want to try, the electrolytes. Because I've been looking for different electrolytes when I go for runs. And obviously they have these like electrolyte packs. It's like a pack of 30. So I want to try these. But yeah, conversation for another day. Let me not bore you with my food obsession. I only eat 2 meals a day too. I don't eat breakfast most times. I eat lunch and then dinner, but a really late dinner. I should probably stop that because it's not good for you. I can only eat homemade gumbo. I have yet to go to a restaurant where it really impressed me. I know, right? It's weird. Like certain foods, I don't know if it's just me, but certain foods in the restaurants, I've just never been impressed. Like steaks is the one that stands out to me the most. I've almost never had a good steak at a restaurant, like better than I could cook. Apart from one time, I went on this trip with Nike and we went to this like really fancy Michelin starred restaurant. And on the menu was a steak. It was kind of like a fixed menu, like a tasting menu. And one of the dishes was a steak, and I was already like, oh, not another steak. It's gonna be dry. It's gonna be horrible. And this steak was it was like perfect. It was great. That's like the only time, but most times, yeah, the steaks. I don't know about all of that. A late dinner. That is so un-British. I know, right? Dinners are always having their tea, having their supper at 6 p.m. sharp. 6 p.m. sharp. The best steak you'll have will always be a home cooked one, not from a restaurant. I wonder why that is. Is it because in a restaurant setting they're always in a rush? So because they're rushing, they don't have time to really make the steak properly, or is it like something else? Um, yeah. I'm a semi-pro athlete and we just mix salt and some orange or citrus peel into our water for summer when we do low carb stuff. Okay, that's cool. I mean, obviously salt is like a very effective electrolyte because the main things you need are like things like if you play a lot of sports, you need things like potassium, you need magnesium. These are things that you need. So long as you like, you could eat a banana. Bananas have potassium and magnesium and stuff like that, but it's just for ease because sometimes you just don't have. You're just in a rush. It's a bit frantic, so I want to have that pack of electrolytes just there, just in case. The topic now is we're talking about food, Luke. We're talking about like food that people like to eat and just like what people cook with, healthy oils, all that sort of stuff. Born and raised in New Orleans. I've heard that. How do you guys pronounce it? I always say New Orleans, but I know it's like New Orleans. How do you guys pronounce New Orleans? It's like one word. People pronounce it like one, just New Orleans. It's so weird. It's hard for me to pronounce that word. Um, but anyway, I've heard that New Orleans has is like one of the best food in the US. Like apparently, like New Orleans has some of the best restaurants, the best food. I don't know because I've never been, but that's just what I've heard. Best steak I had was from a restaurant my parents frequent, and they are friends with the owners. Maybe it tastes heavenly because I don't pay. Free food always tastes better. Just watched the clip of an old documentary on models and their diets, and it's very racy. Oh yeah, I talked about this in a stream not too long ago, where like so a lot of people in fashion, because their main concern is just being skinny, they eat really badly, and it's like going to take a really bad toll on them long term. Now they're skinny and it's nice, but when they're like 40, 45, 50, they're going to have so much health issues. I feel sorry for them already, and they're not even old yet. I feel sorry for them in advance. Did I miss the Gucci review anyway? It was dog shit. Luke being Luke. Yes, you missed it. You can watch it back if you want. It was like a separate stream. This stream was for Alessandro Michele at Valentino. But yeah, the Gucci stream is it's there. It's there. That's funny. Free food is the best. Facts, facts. I don't know what it is. It's just like when you don't pay for the food, it's just so I don't know. It's like not paying for food adds a certain seasoning. It just makes your taste buds feel better. What do you feel is lacking from the current fashion scene? Um, in so I'm going to pose a question back to you. In what sense? Because you could take it from any angle. Are you asking in terms of like designers, what I want to see from designers? Are you talking about in terms of the way that people communicate about fashion, like journalists and magazines and content creators? Like, what angle are we talking about? So yeah, it really depends. Now it makes sense why 95% of them are avid smokers. Yeah, I mean, the things people do to get skinny instead of just doing it the hard way, and you know, changing your lifestyle to a healthier lifestyle and exercising more is crazy. Like Ozempic, for example, the side effects of Ozempic are endless. You can get like kidney failure. Like it's just too, like just to get skinny, people are gonna like risk kidney failure. That's insane. That's insane. Luke says talent is missing from the current fashion scene. Okay, so Rachel does agree. Nola has the best food and culture in the US. Second lines, Mardi Gras, Indians, etc, etc. It's like nothing else. Yeah, there's an article on the Mardi Gras Indians in my magazine actually. So if you haven't checked out my magazine, it's there. Don't you dare talk bad about my Ozempic. You're just mad because I can fit in a size extra small Rick Titty tank top. That's funny. I'm yet to see the IFM BA design show. Was it good? I haven't seen it. I should probably have a look at some point actually, just to see what the design students are up to. The whole universe is obsessed with being skinny, so you shouldn't blame on models for trying to be skinny. Ozempic made Denmark much richer. Damn. I also think it depends. Like, I guess I'm not the typical fashion person in the sense that if I wanted to be skinny, all I need to do is count my calories and exercise more, and 6 months later, I'll probably lose like 20 kilos or something insane. It's not really that hard. I think people just want shortcuts. But the thing about me is I play sports, so I can't actually be skinny. It's not good for sports. And I still play like basketball at a really decent level. So I can't afford to be skinny because I will literally break into two. Like I can't imagine like fashion people playing like on my basketball team, for example, they would get broken into pieces. Someone would just barge them and they'd just fall on the ground. Someone says, I'd argue that Nola has the best food in the world. Wow. Oof, that's a rough statement. In the world, Japan, Italy, France. Oof, that's a hot take. That's a hot take. But I definitely need to go though. I just want to experience it. Really effective way to lose weight is skipping for 30 to 40 minutes a day. That's really hard. Skipping for 40 minutes a day. That sounds like a lot, to be fair. That sounds like a lot of exercise. 40 minutes of skipping. That is tiring. See, I like doing exercise that is fun, like playing basketball. Yeah, I don't know about all of that. I stand on it. NOLA is a short form of New Orleans. New Orleans. I only know that because I play basketball and New Orleans, the Pelicans, they have NOLA on their jersey. So I know it's kind of like a shortcut for like a short form of saying New Orleans. The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival was the best event in NO, 4 days, weekends, last of April and 1st of May. I hate to miss it. Even when I was in London, I listened to it. Damn, it's looking like I'm missing out on a lot of culture. I definitely need to visit. Because the last time I really explored the US was when I did this trip. And in one trip to the US, I went to San Francisco, then we went to like parts of California, then we went to Arizona, and then we went to Las Vegas. So I did quite a bit of traveling, but I need to like explore other places. I didn't know food until I went to Japan and Korea. That's the thing, because I've never been to Japan or Korea, I can't even imagine how good the food must be. Exactly. Thai food is elite. Thai food is elite. That's facts. Thai food is like insane. No muscles in fashion, so no sports. It's so I find it so funny when like you'll see like some fashion model and they'll do like a campaign, like let's say Louis Vuitton has like maybe not Louis Vuitton because Louis Vuitton is like a cultured brand. I need a brand that's less cultured, maybe like Dior. Dior will do like a collaboration with some basketball sneakers and they'll do a campaign and you'll have these like models like dribbling the ball uncomfortably and then they shoot like that and like that's the campaign. I'm like, could you not just get like a professional basketball player who has 8-pack abs to do this campaign? Why do you have to get some like ultra skinny model that doesn't look athletic in any way, like almost break their bones trying to shoot a basketball because it's too heavy? It's so weird. So strange, so strange. Damn, I have been to more of the American West than me, and I'm from here. I guess it's kind of like because if you live in the UK, it's kind of similar. Like when I growing up in London, I didn't explore London when I was younger because you're just like you live in London, it's around the corner anyway, so you take it for granted. So there will be times when like I'll have friends who moved from the US or moved from another country to the UK and they live in London and they're telling me about stuff and I'm like, that's in London. I didn't know that. But it's because when you're an outsider, you don't take it for granted. You actually want to explore the way that me going to America, I want to explore because I'm not from there. But I feel like when you're from somewhere, you take it for granted. So I think that's absolutely normal. I think that's quite normal. Although as an adult now, I like explore more. Like I've traveled around the UK now because I'm older. Like I've been to Bath and Huddersfield and Leeds and Manchester and Birmingham and Newcastle and all these places. A professional basketball player would need size 14 to 16 shoes. Not necessarily. They could get like a basketball player that's like 6 foot. Maybe like Chris Paul or someone who's a small NBA player like Chris Paul, maybe like Kyrie Irving. Like these players are not going to have a size 16 shoe. They could just find like a smaller player. Anthony Davis and his cute ass unibrow. I really want to move to London, but everyone seems so intimidating. Are we? I don't think we're intimidating. I think we're really nice. I think we're amazing people. There's great people in London. It's like anywhere, right? Like there's not so nice people everywhere in the world. So yeah. I want to move to London too, but y'all make the UK sound ghetto and expensive. I can find that in the US. Maybe it's because once again we're from here, so we're just going to complain about what's wrong with the country, right? But it is expensive. The tax rates are very high. That is not a lie. That's facts. But everywhere has pros and cons. The best pro, the one thing that has made me always makes me reconsider moving to the US is traveling. It's so easy to travel in Europe when you're in the UK. Like there's an event in Paris, I can just jump on the Eurostar and I'm in Paris in 2 hours. Or like there's an event in Spain, I can buy a plane ticket for £30 and be on the plane in a few hours. Like that kind of stuff all goes away once if I live in America. Like that's all gone. So that kind of convenience of being able to just go anywhere in Europe at the drop of a hat is kind of great. I love that. I'm from New York, been to France and Nola food is better. Oof. Hot takes today. You know, no design house is getting curry. That's facts. Not in this climate. Now everyone in London is on edge. Took me ages to slow down when I moved to Scotland. That's funny. Sales tax. Yeah, so we have VAT, value added tax, and VAT is 20% on all goods, but it's not like America where so this is something that annoys me about the US. Why why would I look at something? I'm in a store, I look at something, the price says $65. I go to the till and they're like, okay, sir, your bill is $72. And I'm like, so, what? They're like, oh, yeah, we added the tax after. Why not just put it into the price? Because I've mentally been like, okay, I'm going to spend $65. And then I get to the till and it's just way more. So it made me feel like when I was last time I was in New York, it made me feel like I was just blowing through money because you're just spending way more than you expect everywhere at restaurants, at shops. Why can't they just do some like even at restaurants, we have the service charge, which is I think sometimes it can be high. It can be like 10% of the bill and you just pay it. It's just part of the bill and you know it may or may not go to the workers. You hope that it does, type of thing. Yeah, exactly. There's no shock of the final price at the till. Like you've already calculated it in your head. You're like, okay, cool, it costs this much. The tax is there, but it's just it's factored into the price from the start. I live in Switzerland. Planes and trains are so expensive. Even to go to like places that are close by in Europe. It's literally because of that. It's all mental to make you feel like you're spending less, I guess. See, I felt the opposite way. I felt like I was spending more because it just felt like everywhere I go, I'm like, okay, this costs $100. And then I'm cashing out $121. Or, oh, this costs $60. It ends up being 78. And it's just like I felt like I was blowing through money. I was like, how do people live in New York? This place is so expensive. Like I feel like I'm just like burning a hole in my pocket. You look at the menu and they ask for tips. Breathe and they ask for tips. And I feel like this is something I do actually commend Americans for. I think it's a cultural thing. I think in America, it's okay to sell to people. I think I get really weird about selling to people. It makes me feel like we just don't do that in British culture. Like in Britain, you don't talk business the way that Americans talk business. I feel like in America, if you have a business meeting, you genuinely go and you're like, okay, so what are the figures? What are the da, da, da. In the UK, if you go for a business meeting, it's like, how's the family? How have you been? What have you been up to? You first talk for like an hour before you say anything business. It's so frowned upon in British culture to just be so like market yourself and sell yourself. Whereas I feel like in America, that's very it's like commended, it's like encouraged to like sell yourself. Like don't sell yourself short. Like, you know, and I appreciate that in some aspects with American culture because it makes me feel like so odd selling in any way. So sometimes it catches me off guard when like I literally go somewhere to buy juice and then the worker there is like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you can like tip if you want to." And like they sell it so well and I just end up tipping. It's like, "Oh, all right." Like, how much do you want? They like sell it so well. Whereas in the UK, no one is going to ask you for anything. So you're just not used to it. Exactly. Business first, small talk after. Whereas we're the opposite. Yeah, the American business model is it's nothing personal, it's just business. Exactly. In the UK, it doesn't operate like that. Waffling on, get to the chase, mate. Money, money, money. We're an ultra capitalistic, imperialistic nation. um no, I know why they do it. It's definitely for this reason. You're right. It's because the sales tax is different in like different like states and stuff. you can't. It's I think it'll be a bit complicated for them to like factor it in because there's too many moving parts I can imagine. So that's why they don't do it. But it's just annoying. It's just annoying. I had to slow down when I lived in London. I was too pushy and impatient. UK are pro queuers. Americans have no patience. It's very much like because British people, as rude as some British people are, we are actually quite polite sometimes. So like queuing, you can't just jump the queue. Everyone would like be in arms. Um, you can't jump a queue. You can't do things like that. So yeah, we stand in line, and everyone waits their turn, and everyone is like being patient, and all that sort of stuff. That's funny. I was too pushy and impatient. Different cultural philosophies are also less communal, though, because of that good old American independence. Luke says, my friends always lean on me to be that person that refuses to tip at restaurants. I got that Karen vibe. I can't help it. They just sell it so well. It's something about Americans and selling. They're just like, yeah, so you can tip if you want. And like, if you can't tip in cash, you can tip in card. And it's like, God damn, how much do you want? How much do you need? Okay, so New York has 8% sales tax. Florida has 6%. That's so confusing that the US is like so many different states with so many different laws. It's not what I'm used to. In the UK, we're just same law, same everything, same tax system, same everything. But then again, the UK is tiny. Like the UK, California is bigger than the UK. So there we go. Young Americans don't know how good they got it these days, making $15 to $20 per hour and getting tips for just flipping an iPad. That's funny. Sorry, I sometimes use England and the UK interchangeably. But yeah, Scotland does have its own laws and kind of similar to like Wales too has some different laws. Um, but I kind of use it interchangeably. It's why Scottish people hate English people, right? It's because we do it even when we don't mean to. We just other everywhere else by mistake. Some people do it deliberately though, but I definitely don't do it deliberately. Restaurant workers make less than minimum wage and rely on tips, which is shitty, especially since people don't know it. Why? Quick question. So why don't restaurant workers get paid a livable wage? Like, why isn't that baked into the law? Because in the UK, you can't pay someone less than like the minimum wage, and whether it's livable or not is definitely another conversation that could be had. Um, but in the UK, you don't get the sense that like waiters are so broke that like without tips they'll literally be homeless. But you get that vibe when you're in the US, like the way people talk about it. Don't you just love how some people's rights change depending on what state you enter? Living off tips, I made more than my roommates who are making like $8 an hour in retail. So I made decent money, but I agree, just pay people a livable wage. Um, because tips are expected to make up for the low pay. That's twisted. So instead of the restaurants paying their employees a decent wage, they would rather put that cost onto the customers. That's strange. I don't understand that. I don't really get that. I don't understand that. It doesn't. That's confusing. The logic in it isn't logicking. Someone says the US has no blanket living wage. Wait, what did someone say? This is damn near a pure capitalist country. Our foundational ideology excludes slavery at one point. It's kind of oh, internet took me off the stream for a bit. That's going to happen a few times because normally when I stream, I have my Ethernet cable plugged in, but I'm streaming like in the room downstairs today, hence why the setting is really different, like right beside my office. So my Ethernet cable is not connected, so the internet might be a bit off, but it's fine. We're in after hours; it doesn't matter too much. But anyway, um, so yeah, you're saying that because of like the foundation of like someone said that these jobs were jobs that black people had during slavery. I didn't actually know that in the US. So they were only allowed tips and kind of like that legacy remained. I didn't actually know that. And no one thought to change that. No one since then, no one has thought, let's change the way that this runs. The double-edged sword is that if they made minimum wage, they would probably make less. And this is what I'm saying. Why are we covering for the restaurant not paying workers enough? That's what really messes with my head. That's what I don't understand. Someone said, now the US government got me. Did Henry or Finn join? No, they didn't, bro. They didn't. Weren't after hours, weren't after hours. Micah, hop in the stream quickly. I'm gonna post the link. Hop in the stream to talk about Pharrell's LV collection. I actually want to see what he has to say about the LV collection. That's gonna be jokes. Mike has finished talking business at the sauna. On the tube, innit? On the tube. Tube. Where are you now? Are you heading home now, or are you still in the sauna, doing something in the sauna? Exactly. People don't need a minimum wage. They need a living wage. I agree. I totally agree. He said, you already know, I think he's playing footy with the lads. I love the American British tropes. Footy with the lads. He's in the sauna, in it, mate. On the tube, Tuesday. He signed a 360 of LV after getting L the turtle. You know he can't drag him. Some restaurants that don't ask for tips because they pay their staff enough. Yeah, that's good though. That's good. Pay your staff. Pay your staff. I've been on a bender because of our uni May balls. They start at like 6 p.m. and finish at 6 a.m. So exhausted. Not you on a bender. Anyway, you're done with exams. You can afford to go on a bender, to be fair. Now's the time to be going on a bender. Post exams. Okay, what are some more Americans? Give me your British tropes. You're right, babes. You're right, babes. You're right, babes. That's funny. Someone says you agree until you understand economics. You say that, but I always bring up the example of I don't understand like fashion magazines that like take time to pay or like don't pay a lot of money when my tiny ass magazine made a profit by and I still paid people slightly more than like the going rate for like journalists and different things, right? And I still made a profit with no sponsors. So unless maybe these magazines they just don't know how to run a business properly, I think that's more the issue. So they almost understand economics even less with their massive teams to where they have these huge sponsorship deals. and they still don't have the money or the budget to pay someone. It's either that or the person at the top is so greedy they just want all the profit for themselves and they just don't want to pay anyone anything. So with the economics, I don't know if I agree with that, because there's restaurants that are successful financially and they pay their staff a livable wage. So we can say it's the economics and it's you agree with these things until the economics come, but I think there's a way to run a business where it's profitable and you still pay people like a good wage. You're gonna have a wee. Are you fucking mad? Bottle of water. Bottle of water. Bottle of water. Hello, it's my first time here after seeing you of Jacob's live stream today. So lovely to be introduced to a new channel. Welcome. I feel like you've come at the wrong time, but still welcome, because we are now in the after hours phase of my live stream where I just talk about random stuff. So hopefully you have fun, but we're currently not talking about fashion, but I have a wealth of fashion videos for you to watch when you get the time. So yes, we appreciate you joining the club. Someone said British people say mate. He's taking the piss out of us. Can you say bottle of water? Well, I mean, bottle of water is bottle of water. Bottle of water. You have to pronounce the T's. Bottle of water. Insert any phrase from Top Boy. Oh no. Oh no. Me and the man them, yeah, innit? Do you know what still messes with my brain? What messes with my brain is Canadians because Canadians have similar slang to us, because most of the slang in London comes from Jamaica. And obviously there's a massive Jamaican community in London. There's also a massive Jamaican community in Canada, especially Toronto. So we have similar slang, but I think because in pop culture, most of Jamaican slang is heavily tied to the UK. So when you watch films and you hear Jamaican slang, it's UK slang, or just all those things. So I forget sometimes that there's Jamaicans from Canada. And so when I hear like sick to my stomach fam and all that stuff, it's like, oh my gosh. Oh my, what did you say? Bits and bobs. I say that all the time, to be fair. So the topic in question at the moment is Americans are saying their tropes of British people, like when they think of Brits and what phrases that they think Brits say when they think of British people. Tell me you're cheesing, fam. Tell me you're cheesing, fam. Like being Jamaican and hearing British and Canadians talk always trips me up. I know, right? I can imagine the same way that the Canadian slang is weird to me. If you're like, especially if you're Jamaican and you've lived in Jamaica and you hear like a British person say Wagwan, you're just gonna, as a Jamaican, you're probably thinking, Wagwan. So I understand. It's a cycle. I understand. Wagwan. Like, I love when British people try to do American accents. Can I have some water? Water. You, I don't even know why you guys spell water the same way, because the way you guys pronounce water, it's like you guys should spell it WADDDDDDDDEEEEERRRR. That's how you should spell water. Can I drink some water? Water. You taking the piss. Everyone keeps saying you taking the piss. Yeah, private school kids. Raw, mate. Raw. Raw. I love it when posh British kids speak slang. It's so entertaining. Wagwan, like rotted. Rotted. It's bussin', fam. No, private school kids or like posh kids that speak slang is the most entertaining thing you'll hear all year. What? Posh British people speaking slang. Wagwan, my G. Wagwan, my G. It's bussin' in it though. Like that is actually the funniest thing ever. Don't tell me about white kids saying raw. At Cambridge, it's an epidemic. Rotted, my G. Oh man, that stuff kills me. That's it kills me. Like the Brits know exactly what I'm talking about. It's so funny. It's really so funny. Where's my peas, fam? Bring me my peas, fam. It's funny though because upper class Jamaicans try to imitate the British accent, so they add like letters at the end of the words. Give me an example. That's very interesting. Give me an example. Oh, was you and you asking what baki is? Yeah, baki is tobacco. We call it baki. Do you mind bringing my peas tomorrow? And what I love about posh kids in the UK speaking slang is they always use it in the worst of context. Like they force it. Like I won't even mention this guy's name, but he's like a model slash influencer. He's really well known. Um, and he thinks that it's cool to speak slang, I guess. And so he's always forcing slang where you don't need it. Like he was at some show and he could have just said, like, oh, this is like really fun. It's like I like the settings, the environment is really fun. And this guy said, oh mate, like everything's bussing, fam. And I was just like, what? Why? 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 Like why? Why did you have to damage my eardrums like that? Why? 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 Why are you forcing it? Especially fashion kids. Like posh kids in fashion in the UK, I guess they think speaking slang makes them more relatable. So they're just exactly, it's like, stop, that's not you. Exactly, that's how I feel. It's like, oh, it's bossing, fam. Like, no, I'm saying, fam. Oh my gosh. The UK is a funny place. Very, very funny. Yeah, it does. It's so irritating. It's so irritating. It's so annoying. Because the thing about me is like, I grew up in Lewisham, and even though I grew up in Lewisham, and depending on who I speak to, my voice might change slightly. I refrain from speaking slang because I think it's not me either. So me speaking slang is kind of like I cringe at myself because I don't speak that way. So when these ultra posh kids do it, it's like I grew up in Lewisham and I wouldn't even speak like that. Like why are you forcing why why are you forcing the slang? It's so painful to my ears. Then they get a call from their parents and it's all, Mummy, have you been well? Mummy, have you been great? How are you doing today? Are you in great spirits? Oh my word. That's so funny. Even in the States, you'll find discrepancy in pronunciation depending on the geographical location. I can imagine. I can't even keep track of the amount of accents there are in the US because the US is so big. It's so big, right? And so vast. Mummy, I need my allowance. It goes from it's busing, fam, to Mummy, can I have my allowance this early 2 days early this week? You know, I just had to buy a few Chanel bags, so I'm quite low on funds right now. Cosplaying Road with the life of a trust fund baby. Gotta love it. Tell Daddy I've been keeping up with the crickets. Mummy, can I spot your Amex for a quick shopping spree in it? Oh my god, you guys are hilarious. You guys are actually so funny. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Wait, what do you mean, Micah, by there's no accent that we can sell you? When I went on a date with a Turkish guy, he said to his dad in Turkish, "Can I have my allowance?" But sent it to me by accident, and I Google translated. Safe to say, we didn't date any further. Oh my gosh. Mummy, the pony didn't want to eat the corn today. I'm going to have to ride to the stables. Micah, I have a confession. I'm a Nepo baby. Drake does it too. So Drake makes me cringe the way that, um, you know, posh kids in the UK try to speak slang. Because Drake, I don't know, Drake tries to be like a chameleon and he tries to like, one day Drake is Jamaican, the next day he's like a London road man, the next day he's American, the next day he's from Toronto. Like he makes me cringe, like when he speaks London slang. He like forces it and uses it out of context, like posh kids. It's so jokes. Drake makes me want to hate myself for being light skinned. Oh my god. Just you wait until you join a stream when Finn is on. Finn is a joker. Finn is absolutely hilarious. Like Finn is really funny. Any song he does with popcorn sends me to the shops for salt. I told you, one day Drake is Jamaican, the next day he's from London, the next day he's from Toronto, the next day he's from New York. He's saying no cap and all of that. I'm just like, what's going on? No authenticity at all. Well, Turkish food was never a disappointment in the UK too. I worked with a couple of Turkish people. Yeah, there's a lot of Turkish people in London. I love Turkish food. I really, really love Turkish food. Like, yeah, Turkish mixed grill slaps. Baklava slaps. Yeah, Turkish food is nice. I was re-listening to the Heady One album with the Only You freestyle, and I forgot Drake was Arabic for a period. Drake has been from every country on this planet at this point. Drake is something else. I'm following now from the beginning. I want to say that I'm disappointed Alessandro Michele is the only one who deeply understands Gavani's romanticism, and I hope he leaves the 70s, I guess he's going to say, behind. Interesting take. I don't know why nobody here in my area caught on to Drake's corniness till now except me. I don't know. It's kind of like I think it just depends what you listen to music for. For me, I like artists to like tell me a story and it has to be believable. And Drake to me just comes across as really inauthentic. So it's very hard for me to listen to his music. But I'm not to say he doesn't make good music. It's just not for me. Clearly, he knows what he's doing. He's one of the highest streamed artists. So he must be doing something right. It's just not for me. I like people that I can actually believe their story, like they're authentic. It's kind of why I can't take, people from the UK that rap with an American accent. I can't take them seriously either because you're from London. Why do you sound like I got the keys to the car and it's just weird. Like that's not how you sound. It's strange. Drake is a bad representative for the Beige Brigade. Oh my word. Oh yeah, combination. Combination. Drake is jokes. Beige Brigade. Drake is skilled at mimetism, which is kind of suburban if you think about it, not a strong authenticity. Yeah. Like I genuinely can't listen to Drake's music. I can't do it. Like I can't, the second it plays, I'm just like, oh, here we go. I can't listen to it. And I have people for different things. If I want to listen to some R&B or something, I'll listen to Sir. I don't want Drake to cosplay as an R&B artist while being Jamaican. Like I have people for the R&B, I have people for the hip hop, I have people for, different genres of music. I don't need Drake to fit into that genre of music. Like if I want to listen to dance hall, I'll listen to a dancehall artist. I don't need Drake to give me some like dancehall thing where he's trying to sound like a Jamaican. Drake's the obvious camouflage chameleon in a bad way, not good. He said, I can't talk. I come from 3 out of 4, 3/4 ethnicities. I have no purity. It's not even about ethnicity, it's more about culture. So it's like if you grow up in Toronto and you're Canadian, why are you trying to sound Jamaican? You're not Jamaican. You're not from Jamaica. It's not authentic. Your accent sounds horrible. Like, you don't need to change your accent just because you're on a dancehall track. You can use your Canadian accent and it's just use the dancehall beat. That's all you need to do. It's weird. It's just weird to like change your whole identity to like fit into something else. That's what I find weird about Drake. It has nothing to do with his like ethnicity or anything. It's more of like a cultural thing. It's the same reason why I said like a rapper from London rapping in an American accent, I can't take them seriously. Because why? You don't sound like that. That's not you. I was watching a Rolex review the other day and the guy was complaining Rolex is too urban nowadays. Oh yeah, Micah, you told me about that. And that's exactly where our urban word comes from, right? Saying it's way too urban. That's so funny. Too many ethnics wearing our submariners. Exactly. He doesn't sound Jamaican. He tries, but he doesn't sound Jamaican at all. Even like, because remember, I grew up around loads of Jamaicans because my neighbors were Jamaican, their parents were Jamaican, their grandparents were Jamaican. So I grew up around a lot of Jamaicans. So the second I see someone, because a lot of people in London, they force a Jamaican accent too. Like, and it sounds horrible. I'm not even going to try to do it because I'm going to make myself cringe. But people do that in the UK too, like what Drake does in songs where they just force being Jamaican. And it's like, it's okay. Like, Jamaicans are cool, we know that, but you're not Jamaican, so don't bastardize their accent. Today's music is dead to me, Mr. 90s rap music, so authentic and relatable. Yeah, I love the 90s vibe. I think that nowadays there's still some really interesting artists in all genres of music because I listen to every genre of music. Like I listen to hip hop, R&B, jazz, techno, house. I love everything. And I just think that you just have to sift through the crap and find the good. Like one of my favorite rap artists is Mick Jenkins. and I've been listening to him for years. And I always thought he would get mainstream, but he's not mainstream yet. But he's like amazing, or like someone like Little Sims is someone I've been listening to forever. I've been listening to Little Sims since Age 101 Drop 1. That was so long ago. That was in fact too long for me to even remember. And now she's becoming mainstream, which is great to see. So there are still some like artists that care about their craft, and they're not chameleons and inauthentic like Drake. However, Drake is just, because he's so famous, he's just an easy target for me to talk about. Exactly. Just collaborate with that culture and share it, and gives you humility and gives you the credit in the diaspora. Exactly. I don't know why he can just collaborate with Popcorn. Don't use the Jamaican accent. My thing is, why hasn't Drake made an album directly influenced from his parents? His dad and uncle are literally music legends. I know, right? Oh, you're talking about the Rolex thing. It was definitely a microaggression, for sure. When I was 10, he did more R&B pop stuff. He wasn't doing all that. He was way more secure and laid back. Yeah, like Take Care days. That was the Drake I like. Like Take Care. That was like, okay, he's like cool. Like that was cool. But when he started, just trying to be from different countries and stuff, it was just weird. I had a crush on Drake when he was on Degrassi because he was the only urban representation. I like the 90s, but I think what people are really missing is the experimentation in their music. Yeah, because a lot of people, their music now is very formulaic because it's all about like commerce and making a lot of money and stuff. Which kind of pop music was like that before, but there we go. This is clapped white twink at my uni. Who pronounces Little Sims as Little Simsy, like an active E sound at the end. Why? Why? That's funny. Everyone's talking about Little Sims. I'm actually really happy that Little Sims is she's been embraced in the fashion industry, because I always thought of her as like, even when I used to listen to her back then, like the mixtape days, I was like, she dresses so much more interesting than most other rappers, especially in the UK. Because I think in the US, there are really like artists actually have interesting style. Like some artists are actually very fashionable. I think in the UK, especially rap music, most rappers dress horribly. It's only like you can count on one hand the rappers in the UK that dress decently, that try. Like Lancey Foe, Skepta, and that's about it. Like the rest of them, they don't even try. Like the heady ones and the K traps and all of that, they can't dress to save their life. And they don't even try either. So I always thought Little Sims is so fashionable. So when she started becoming more like mainstream, I was like, oh, I can really see like the crossover in terms of fashion. And it's good to see her in like, Gucci campaigns at the Savoy and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, that's so great for Little Sims. I'm so happy she's reached that point. I'm really happy about that. But that's a people problem. They don't support experimental artists. They just complain about the mediocre artists they give a platform. I know, right? And that's why I will say I do put my money where my mouth is. Like Masego was in London recently, and I paid to go to the Masego show, because I'm a big fan of Masego. That sort of like jazz R&B vibe. But I'm only one person, right? Luke saying little twink when he's a twink himself. That's funny. Lil Yachty and Tyler are the best dressed American rappers. Am I wrong? Um, ASAP Ferg can dress sometimes. ASAP Rocky. I'm trying to think of who else. Rapper that dresses well. Um, I'm trying to think of like what other rappers have good style. I mean, does Pharrell Williams count? Because Pharrell Williams has obviously really good style. Um, was she at the Met Gala? I can't remember. I don't think so. But I know she's been to Met Galas in the past. But I don't think she was at the last one, to be fair. I'm trying to think of what other American rappers are really well dressed. Lil Yachty is definitely up there though. Like Lil Yachty actually has a deeper understanding of fashion. Like I've seen Lil Yachty have conversations about fashion and sound like intelligent, like he knows what he's talking about. Whereas most rappers, if you have a conversation with them about fashion, they're a bit lost. My rapper name, good lord, I'm not going to be a rapper anytime soon. I used to make music when I was younger, but that music makes me cringe now. Like no name, I'll just call myself my Ayo. That'll be my rapping name. So long as it doesn't make me cringe into my soul. I love London Fashion Week. Miami only has Swim Fashion Week. I'm so over how naked can we make plus size models. The thing about London, I think London Fashion Week is dying slowly though. We need something, we need some injection of excitement to bring it back to like what it was before. Yeah, Lil Uzi has some cool, he has some cool outfits sometimes. Lil Uzi definitely. ASAP Rocky is best dressed. Haven't listened to his music in years. West Side Gun is not well dressed. I'm a big fan of West Side Gun, by the way, and he calls himself Fly God. But like, let's go on West Side Gun's Instagram. Let's see what Fly God has been wearing recently. There's certain rappers think they can dress and they can't. Like Gunna. Gunna thinks he can dress. I don't think he can dress. Um, like all these people making songs, no stylist. It's like you need a stylist. West Side Gun calls himself Fly God. I don't think he dresses that nice. Like let's have a look at some of his fits. Do you know who also dresses really well? Mick Jenkins. Mick Jenkins dresses really well. Boo 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 boo. Fly God. Hmm. This is someone that calls himself Fly God. Fly God. Fly God. Fly God. That's a statement to call yourself the Fly God. Like, because I feel like a lot of these rappers, they're like self-proclaim themselves as like fashionistas, and it's like, mm, mm. Shout out to the Alchemist. I love the Alchemist. I love that coat that the Alchemist is wearing. I wonder where that's from. In this picture, the Alchemist looks better dressed than Benny the Butcher and West Side Gun. Luke said he dresses like he just got his first paycheck. Oh my gosh. West Side Gun does the New York aesthetic, but I think he does it badly. Like, there's rappers that can do that whole New York swag way better than West Side. So even in the context of that, yeah. So I'm here. Unfortunately, I have to leave. Hope to catch up on another live stream. Have a great time. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to have you here. Hopefully, you catch one of the future streams. I should be streaming later this week, like covering a lot of the shows that have happened. I want to cover like the Prada show and a few other shows and analyze them. So hopefully, you make it to those streams. But whether you do or you don't, we appreciate you hopping on the stream. Have to be as loud as possible to attract customers to sell your at least two. But I think it's also like with Lil Yachty, whether it's suburban or not, it's just the fact that like that man actually knows his fashion. Like he genuinely knows the references, he knows the history. Like he can actually have a full blown conversation about fashion history. I don't know many rappers that can. Maybe ASAP Rocky and like not too many other people. Because like this New York aesthetic thing, there's people that do this way better than this. Like a lot of the ASAP mob have, although ASAP Nas can kind of look a bit suburban, but a lot of the ASAP mob, when they do that New York aesthetic look, that's people that do it well. Mix the D squared with the root. The thing is, West Side Gun just raps about brands. So I think that's why he calls himself a fly god, because he just knows about brands. Like he'll be like, I mix the Angelo Lamista with the Lang. Boop, 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 boop. That's how he raps. It's funny. So I went shopping in Paris. That's West Side Gun. West Side Gun really plays the gangster slash high fashion aesthetic really well, though, and even in lyrics. Wells Bonner Glasgow on the Mac 10. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, boop. No, I love West Side Gun's music though, but that man needs to drop that Hitler Wears Hermes thing. Like, what is he on? Like Hitler Wears Hermes Volume 7 or something insane. Like, he needs to drop that Hitler stuff. When shopping in Paris, big ass wheels like a Ferris, boom, 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 all across the terrace. Wait, he's on 9. Hitler Wears Hermes, Volume 9. Oh my gosh. He needs to let go of that stuff. Like, let me see. But I really love his music though. I'm a big fan of his music. It's just style wise. I think he overrates himself. I think he thinks his style is like better than what it is. But music, I'm there for it. I'm a big fan of his music for sure. Let's go. Let's see Lil Yachty. Let's see what he's been wearing recently. Because Lil Yachty kind of does the New York thing, but it's more refined. Sometimes he might have that suburban look. Like this look, for example, is not something that like West Side Gun would wear. But the earlier look is very much like, you know, the boots with the camo, the wide camo, the like. So it's just a bit more refined. Wait, someone said he dropped Hitler Wears Hermes 10. Oh my god. Oh my word. That's funny. Let's see. Lil Yachty. A thing about Lil Yachty that I like about his style is he's extremely versatile. So he can like look at how different this outfit is, for example, to like where he wears all them like ultra baggy clothes. He's really versatile with his style. Not many, rappers can go out of like their comfort zone. They're just in a box when it comes to style. Wait, he got of course he got called out for the name. The name is crazy. I mean, any name with like Hitler in it is obviously going to be like insane. Oh, bye Duke, by the way. Thank you for hopping on the stream. But yeah, any name with Hitler, everyone's going to question why is it called Hitler Wears Hermes? Like, why is that the name of like your album series? I remember watching a video he did, I think where it was like he was talking about why his thing is called Hitler Wears Hermes, and it was literally as simple as like he just wanted something that was like so outlandish and like brash. So the best thing he could think of is like Hitler Wears Hermes type shit, which is just like okay, okay, West Side. Yeah, it is also a play on the Devil Wears Prada. It is. I remember him saying that too, but he also did say that he was just like trying to think of like the most outlandish stuff. Um, but yeah, if you don't know who West Side Gun is, and you just heard that he has like an album series called Hitler Wears Hermes, you'll probably think he was like some like crazy person. Who else? Who else? Who else? Let's go ASAP Nas. I think ASAP, his style is different. He be dressing for real, for real. Like he be out here styling on them. I think it's cool, but could have definitely been more tasteful. Okay, but who else got Virgil to sign a brick? Oh my god. Yeah, I genuinely think like ASAP Nas is like one of the best dressed, like across the board. Like more people should talk about him. I don't know why people don't talk about his style. Like this man be dressing for real, for real. Like he's like out here. Got the hokers on. No, he is like stylish on like 5,000. You say he wears too much Balenciaga nowadays. Really? Yeah, he is criminally underrated. I agree. I agree. Him and Skepta with the Virgil Abloh Maybach, the Virgil Maybach. No, I just think he's just so stylish. That's all. I think he's one of the most stylish people in fashion. Like, forget rappers or anything. I just think across the board, he's one of the most stylish. Especially because a lot of these guys, they're so versatile. Like most people I know in fashion, they just have a style that they stick to. And if they try to deviate from the style, they don't pull it off most of the time. So I'm more inclined to say that people that can fit into so many different aesthetics and make it work are like more stylish. But I guess it just depends how you see it. Like there's no right or wrong, I feel like. Always associate Nast with the mob freestyle on Hot 97. That was ages ago. That was a while ago. These people love my backs, don't they? He's got the Martin Rose. I've got that same shirt, to be fair. The Martin Rose with the tie, the Louis Vuitton belt with the Martin Rose shoes and denim, the Western shirt. That's a cool fit. Ages ago, feeling like an old ass man. Hey, time flies. You don't know. Okay, this is when someone was saying that he wears too much Balenciaga. I haven't seen too many Balenciaga fits apart from this one, though. There's not too many apart from that one. Like for the most part, he's not really wearing a lot of Balenciaga. It doesn't seem like. But yeah, I feel like all these kind of guys, like the ASAP guys, they've mastered the art of the high-low sort of aesthetic. They mix it so well. Calm low fit. Calm low fit. Calm low fit. That's funny. Wait, Kendrick has a show. I had no idea. I might have to go watch that, to be fair. But yeah, anyway, that was really fun. I think at this point we're going to end the stream, call it a day until the next stream, which shall be in probably over the weekend, maybe Saturday or Sunday. Um, so yeah, thank you very much for everyone who tuned in. It was a lot of fun talking about Alessandro Michele's Gucci and other things like food and all sorts. But it was great. This was really fun. I look forward to seeing most of you over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to be talking about Prada. We're going to talk about Pharrell Williams, Louis Vuitton show. And we're going to talk about so many other things. So yeah, thank you very much. And I'll see you guys.